Mang theo đủ gậy. Đây là bí quyết để rút gậy. Hãy chọn đúng loại gậy thích hợp để đánh bóng tới vùng cắm cờ. Và bạn có thể nâng cao tính chính xác của mỗi cú đánh. Tôi nói là tới vùng cắm cờ chứ không phải green. Vì nhiều green nằm ở vị trí rất trũng. Nhiều tay golf nghiệp dư không nhìn rõ cột cờ, họ đánh bóng theo cùng một kiểu trong mọi cú đánh. Nếu xem những tay golf chuyên nghiệp, bạn sẽ thấy họ sử dụng loại gậy thích hợp và biết được khoảng cách tới cờ. Bạn cũng cần phải biết với mỗi loại gậy mình sẽ đánh bóng được bao xa. Bạn sẽ không muốn đánh chệch hướng. Hãy nhớ, gậy sắt là gậy dẫn hướng, không phải là gậy đánh xa. Nếu bạn cố đánh mạnh bằng gậy sắt, bạn sẽ mất nhịp điệu và đánh trượt. Ta thấy nhiều tay golf biết chắc chắn về vấn đề này. Lần sau trong bất cứ cú đánh nào, bạn hãy mang theo thêm một gậy nữa. Nếu bạn nghĩ sẽ dùng gậy sắt số 7, hãy mang thêm gậy sắt số 6. Việc này giúp bạn có thêm lựa chọn để vung gậy uyển chuyển hơn và tiếp xúc với bóng tốt hơn. Trong nhiều trường hợp, bạn cảm thấy không thể tiếp xúc tốt với bóng. Kết quả là bóng rơi cách xa cột cờ. Nếu có thêm một gậy nữa, bạn có thể vung gậy uyển chuyển hơn và đánh bóng tới cột cờ hoặc vượt quá chút ít. Đó là cách kiểm tra thích hợp. Đây còn là vấn đề cái tôi nữa. Chẳng hạn bạn muốn sử dụng loại gậy số nhỏ hơn của bạn chơi để chứng tỏ mình vẫn có thể đánh bóng tốt hơn. Nhưng hãy nhớ rằng bạn cần cố đánh bóng tới lỗ. Nhiều tay golf chuyên nghiệp nhận thấy là họ vẫn sử dụng gậy sắt số 5, trong khi gậy sắt số 6 sẽ thích hợp hơn. Vấn đề là bạn muốn làm gì? Hãy nhớ cần phải điều khiển được và chọn đúng loại gậy. Hãy cố gắng, chắc chắn bạn sẽ đánh bóng tốt hơn, bóng sẽ tới gần cờ hơn, và bạn có thể thực hiện cú gạt ở khoảng cách gần, chứ không phải từ khoảng cách xa. Trong hoặc vượt quá pa. Tôi sẽ dùng gậy sắt số 6 thay cho số 7 để xem điều gì sẽ xảy ra. Vượt quá cột cờ, đó là điều tôi dự tính, hay như ta gọi là chiến lược sân golf. Hãy thử xem bạn sẽ rút được gậy. Loại bỏ các cú đánh vào nửa trên bóng và đánh vào đất. Những kiểu tiếp xúc bóng không hiệu quả là đánh vào nửa trên của trái bóng. Và đánh vào đất. Cả hai đều không ổn. Đó là hậu quả của cách vung gậy không đúng. Bạn cần vung gậy tốt để tránh những kiểu đánh bóng này. Trước tiên, ta bàn về cú đánh vào nửa trên bóng, bên bờ hồ để mọi người dễ hình dung. Mọi người, nhất là khi dùng gậy dài, thường có xu hướng cố đánh tung bóng lên không trung từ dưới trái bóng. Với gậy số 3 hay 4, mặt gậy rất thẳng, nên bạn thường có xu hướng cố đánh múc bóng lên. Vấn đề ở đây là bạn cần đảm bảo tư thế hạ thấp khi đánh bóng. Lý do khiến bạn đánh vào nửa trên bóng hay đánh vào đất là do điểm thấp nhất của vòng cung vung gậy rơi vào điểm ở trước trái bóng. Nếu bạn đánh trượt, bạn sẽ đánh vào nửa trên bóng. Còn ngược lại thì đánh vào đất. Nên bí quyết ở đây là giữ tư thế hạ xuống khi đánh bóng. Ta cần giữ tư thế lưng tạo thành một góc giống như khi đánh driver. Nhiều người chơi khi cố đánh bóng, họ thường nâng tay trái lên, cả cơ thể cũng dựng thẳng lên. Họ nhún người nhìn về phía mục tiêu vì muốn biết bóng bay đi đâu. Và do vậy, điều xảy ra là bạn mất tư thế, trong khi cần hạ thấp xuống. Bạn có thể học cách làm được như vậy. Và bí quyết là chuẩn bị tư thế tốt, vung gậy ra sau, tập trung vào cú đánh. Mắt bạn sẽ thấy đầu gậy di chuyển xuyên suốt trái bóng. Bạn cần cảm giác được như vậy. Giữ tư thế hơi khom người, cử động đầu gối linh hoạt và giữ tư thế kết thúc. Ta thấy nhiều người chơi thường thẳng người lên khi đánh bóng, dẫn tới hậu quả mà ta đã biết. Do vậy, những gì cần làm là giữ tư thế thích hợp, đầu gối linh hoạt, lưng khom trong khi đánh. Bạn đã thấy, đó là bí quyết để tránh cú đánh vào nửa trên bóng và đánh vào đất. Hãy giữ tư thế co người, đầu gối linh hoạt và đừng để mất góc cúi đó.
Michael Breed, I've got a quick fix for you on how you can improve your ball striking, gain some distance, and more importantly, have more fun. And it's very simple. It has to do with how the trail elbow is moving through the strike and how it's leading the wrist. And a ball is going to assist you. What I want you to do is I want you to throw, but I want you to throw sidearm. Many people have told you about skipping a stone on a lake. It's the same idea. We're just going to throw sidearm right here. And as you throw sidearm, the natural move in a sidearm motion is to let the elbow lead the wrist. So when you go there and you throw that, you get this feeling that that elbow is leading the wrist. Then after you've done that for a little bit, just when you're on the golf course, you're just going to take your club, stand it up that way, and feel like you're doing the exact same thing. I'm going to just throw that underneath right there. That's going to give you the feeling of that elbow leading. After you've done that, this is when we get a little fun. Now we take a couple practice swings and feel that elbow leading right there. You're going to increase your club head speed, increase your consistency, strike that ball solidly, and you're going to have, I'm telling you, a pile more fun. And you can see when I hit that shot, look at the distance that I'm going to gain here. Normally this 6-iron that I hit's going to go about 175 to 180 yards. That one there, I got to wait because it's still going. 203. You know what they say? The sun's out, the guns are out. That's how you're going to improve your game. Make sure that elbow is leading that wrist. And I promise you, clean strikes, lots of distance, lots of fun. The other thing that you can do to have a little bit more fun, play a little better golf, join me here every Monday night, 7 p.m. It's called The Golf Fix. And we're here with tips like this to help you shoot lower scores. Join us.
Is there any reason, not that I cared that much about distance, but shouldn't I be able to approach 150 with a 7-iron?
You will.
If I hit it right?
That went pretty close to 150.
I thought it did too.
No, it did. So we're going to go hinge. Handle and the club head go back together, club breaks up, and then you hit the ball.
Okay.
So hinge the club up first, only the club head. Handle and the club go back together and hit the ball. That's fine. Now, I want you to kind of start out hitting some balls easy like that, because when you do that, you won't take the club inside.
Okay. That's a good way to, like, just warm up, huh? I mean, before you go play and everything,
yeah,
just to get the feel.
Now,
okay?
For about 6 months,
okay,
tour events, tour school, mini tours, every shot outside of 100 yards, I would go hinge, swing, hit, because it was the only way I could get the club where I wanted it right here. If I started from here, I wouldn't get it there. So I got so pissed off, I said, well, I'm just going to do the drill. Well, there's Ryan Moore and a number of those guys play golf basically with that drill.
Absolutely, they do.
Okay, so for you right now, because your left arm wants to twist so much this way, when we hinge and go this way, see, it makes your arm rotate the right amount.
The right amount, okay.
Yours is doing too much of this.
Gotcha. See, I overdid what I heard.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'm going to do this.
You set up,
hinge, do that.
Boom. Now here becomes the downside. You go, God, if I go out and play like that, my buddies are going to go, what the? How much did you pay for that lesson? What's interesting is there's a lot of tour players that play that way. They really don't care what anybody says. They care about how good they hit it. All that's doing for you is it delays the momentum of the club head so it doesn't get behind your hand, so it start helping you to do this.
Oh, and it feels so easy and fluid. You know?
Will. Okay. That's step one.
Okay.
This is Golf Channel's Performance Series. I'm Blair O'Neill, joined by Trevor Anderson and Mike Lane, and we're going to take you through a plank series that's going to help the stability in your golf swing.
Stability is so important, Blair. We want to make sure that your body is stable and ready to perform by the time you put the golf club in your hand. And we're going to start with a plank. Does that sound good?
All right, let's do it.
All right, so let's get down to our position. We're going to come to the floor. You're going to put your forearms down on the floor with the palms facing down.
Okay.
The reason why we want palms facing down is because it helps us engage what we call depression and retraction of the shoulder blades, the shoulders down and back. If you notice, you're starting on their knees first to protect the back. Now, extend those legs, fire those quads, spiking those toes into the ground. They're in a position right now that I should not be able to move them, okay? If you notice, Blair's very stable. I can't push her side to side. I can't push Mike side to side. Now, bring those knees back to the surface. You never want to hold a plank for too long, 15, 20 seconds max. Now we're going to bring our knees back up. Now pick the right leg up and back down. Left leg up and back down. We're letting the contraction of the glute drive that movement to lift that leg up. Okay, knees back down. All right, so now we're going to change it, make it a little bit more challenging. We're going to reach our right arm out only and then our left arm out. So go ahead and bring those knees up. Right arm is out like you're shaking someone's hand. And down. Difficult, huh, Blair?
It is difficult. You definitely have to keep your core engaged. It's tough. It looks easier than it is.
Absolutely right. And this is something that we're going to challenge our body. The golf swing is very challenging. Challenging these motions are going to help it be easier when we pick up the golf club. Come down with your knees. All right. Now, finally, we're going to do opposites, okay? We're going to put it all together.
All right.
Right arm and left leg. Okay, so come up to your plank. Right arm and left leg, go. Notice the stability and the balance. Down. Left arm and right leg, go. Notice the resisting rotation, maintaining the balance throughout. And down, relax, good job. If you can get yourself to get balance in these positions, it's not only gonna help your golf game, but help your overall fitness, keep you safer, and help you get better every day.
If you're pulling your approach wedge shots into the green, the likelihood is you're getting too much of a one-piece takeaway, which closes the face. We have a simple drill where we place the head cover under our right arm. We're going to get set with the ball in the center of our body, make a couple practice swings by allowing your arm to work across the chest and getting a feeling of your right arm folding. But when your right arm folds, now we're in a position so our right arm bends and the club face will start rotating to the open condition. From this position, that'll help us on the downswing to eliminate the severe pull shots because the club face is now coming through in a square condition opposed to aiming left. But if you do this drill incorrectly, the head cover will drop and you can see the club face is now too close and your body is starting to move forward. By simply adding the head cover, we can get the sense of getting the club in the proper position going back. The left arm working across the chest, allowing the right arm to fold. The club face is now rotated into the square condition, where we can eliminate the severe pull wedge shots into the green.
One of the things you need to learn in a golf swing is how to swing with just one arm, because each arm plays equal and very important roles. So the left arm, it kind of looks cool. You want to be able to swing back and forth. You see the tour players doing this all the time. You also see them standing with just the right arm. Now, when they're doing this, what you should notice that there is a definite pivoting action. This handle slows down, the club head takes off, this arm folds up on the follow-through. It's not a pull like this. So if you try to hit a ball with just your left arm or with just your right arm, if you pull this handle and you don't direct the momentum of the club head and then go along for the ride, you'll have a really hard time doing this. So this becomes, with one arm, you have to get really good at controlling and directing momentum to the ball. So my left arm is going to come down and the club head's going to work out to the ball. Then all I have to do is direct the momentum and then just go along for the ride. So that's what the golf swing should feel like. Now with my right, I'm going to do the same thing. If I try to drag the handle and pull the club, I'm going to have a hard time hitting it. So again, this handle is going to work in. and I'm going to direct the momentum of the club out, and the weight of the club then runs into the ball. So it becomes fairly easy to run the club into the ball because now I'm having to use momentum. So I'm having to direct the momentum at the ball rather than fighting momentum and then try to catch it up. These are great drills.
Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. I'm Blair O'Neill alongside the Professor Martin Hall, here to get you playing your best golf.
Yeah, today's thought, Blair, is one that does not involve hitting golf balls. It's a practice swing drill, and then you take the feel it does create and hit balls. And it's a drill to help people create width. It's one I have to do all the time. Width being, shall we say, the radius of your hands to your chest. Width being that the lead arm is relatively straight going back, stays relatively straight in transition, and certainly is relatively straight after impact.
Okay.
I've tried many drills. I've tried all sorts of rubber bands and things to help you do it. I've found the best one for me is this. Put my lead hand on the club and take my trail hand and just grab my lead wrist and then try and stretch it with pressure from my trail hand. If I took my trail hand off the club, it would shoot that way. And I have found this so helpful. If you could come here, you can hit a ball afterwards, but as I'm going back here, I'm going to use my trail hand to actually keep my lead arm straight. I'm in your way, aren't I? I'm going to take the trail hand to keep my lead arm straight. And I don't know if you do, but I feel a terrific stretch in my lead shoulder.
Good stretch there, yes.
And as you start down, I'd want you to keep that stretch. I'm trying to stretch with my trail arm. I'd want you to keep that stretch there, and then keep the stretch after impact.
Okay, yeah.
I certainly think every year we get older, well, you know, you're the goddess of fitness. Flexibility is very important.
Very
important. It's really a big thing to keep that mobility, flexibility in that shoulder, and this is a great way to do it. Whether you're at the golf course, be a good warm-up, and then having done that, let's see you hit one now. Having done that a few times,
got a good stretch there.
Just try and feel that stretch in the lead shoulder joint as you finish your backswing.
Throughout the swing.
And through you go. It's one of the things I like to have just about everybody do it. Very rare are the people that I have told you're keeping your left arm too straight. It does happen, but then every 4 years a leap year happens as well. So it doesn't happen very often.
All right, thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. For more great tips like this, make sure to watch School of Golf.
Welcome to Golf Channel Academy. I'm with Mark Rippon from Big Break NFL, and we've got a tip here for you on how you can improve your impact position, and it's very simple. All you need are some tees here. So Mark, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these tees into the ground just so that they're just kind of coming in on, not quite parallel to the ground, but pretty close to parallel to the ground. You see that right there?
Yeah.
Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to come through the strike, and I want you to feel that the hands are leading there. That's right. What I don't want you to do is flip the club head, swing the club head down and in. If you swing the club head down and in, what's going to happen is when the club comes into the tee, it's going to get under the lip and it's going to pop it up into the air. When we have the club head lagging behind the handle, that's going to take some loft off the face and it's going to drive those tees into the ground just like that.
Okay.
You're not going to swing this hard.
Okay.
This is just like a little chip shot or pitch shot, okay?
Excellent.
Okay. This is a drill that you're going to do probably with a 6 or 7 iron. Mark has a 7 iron. There you go. Good, and you can see how there's a little bit of a desire to flip that. Yep. Good, that's better, but it's still not quite the way we want there. There you go. Excellent job there. So it took 3. It was a baseball rule. You didn't strike out. Well done. And then what's the feeling that you got when you were doing that?
That there's a good lag back there, and I'm not, kind of doing that thing that I always...
and probably a lot of people feel this angle in the right wrist there is being maintained instead of releasing right there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do this little drill with these tees, 6 or 7 iron, and you'll improve your impact position.
Hi, I'm David Ledbetter. You know, if you have a 3-iron or a 4-iron in your bag, you must have been in a coma, because I tell you what, hybrids are the latest and the greatest. If you've got a 3 or a 4-iron, just use them to hold up pot plants, because that's all they're good for. You know, these hybrids, they're longer, they're lighter, they're made to get up in the air, and you don't have to work very hard in order to do that. And you really just hit them like an iron. Even from a sort of a bit of a sketchy light like I have here, the ball sitting down, just put the ball back in your stance and make a smooth swing. Don't try to do anything extra with it. Just think, imagine you're just hitting a 7-iron. So take your setup there, nice smooth swing, just hit down and through it just like an iron. If you can learn to do that, these hybrids will be your friend.
Now, the third drill I've got.
I'm going to take a guess because I see a little something over here between the two golf balls.
Well, it's Orlando.
What
It's
is this
party
balloon
time.
for?
Party time. You have to have a balloon for party time. Look, one of the things we have to learn in golf is what's called external shoulder rotation. I'm going to want a bit of help for you in a moment. But you can buy things that hold your arms together. I don't like those. I actually like getting a balloon, putting it between the arms, and there's a reason I prefer a balloon to a ball. A balloon, look at this, it's pretty easy to squash it. Now, I'm pushing both elbows together there. I'm not going to do that when I hit the golf ball. I'm just going to push my trail elbow towards my lead elbow. And where do I do it? Well, I actually do it, and so do all the good players, by the way, when I've gone to the top. My initial move down, it's external shoulder rotation is the name. For those that want it simpler, squash the balloon. I prefer that one. As I shift the weight, I'm trying to squash that balloon. I'm trying to feel that my trail elbow closes in on my lead elbow. That trail shoulder extension is something that just about all good players have. Can you hit the ball like this? You can. You may not hit it well, but yes, you can. I won't go at full speed. In transition, I'm going to try and squash that balloon. In transition. I'm going to try and squash that balloon, keep the elbows together. This is a drill you must do. Now,
it's a good external rotation.
We want to learn a little bit more, Tim, about how you recruit power to hit those kind of drives over 400 yards. Travis Fulton is standing by. Do you mind taking a little walk?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Travis, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for being here. This is what I do here on Morning Drive is we take a look at the swings and we break them down, right? And we don't get very many long drive guys in here to really kind of, in your words, right, give us the goods on what creates all of this speed. So I'm curious here. I've got this broken up into two sections here. We got a backswing and a downswing. I'm gonna pick your brain here.
This might be an older one.
You ready for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
You ready for this? All right. So here we go. We're gonna take it to the top here. Give us an idea what's going through your mind here, recruiting
For
power.
me, I'm making sure that I'm gonna hit the inside of the golf ball, and besides that, I'm just trying to be loose and limber up top because the more tightness you get, you're going to lose power.
And that limberness in the wrists and the arms and the shoulders and really trying to really make it supple.
Right, everything. Just like a noodle almost. Just very relaxed. I like to relax my jaw, and that helps me relax my body as well.
Okay, interesting. Now bring it down. What's happening here?
Right here, I'm just trying to keep my left side of my face at impact behind the golf ball because that's going to help me get to that path that I need, but I'm still concentrating on getting off my right side left. So instead of jumping at it, I'm trying to stay there.
And what is your path? Let's come over here. I'm going to have you hit a couple. What is your path? What do you like to see as far as the ball flight?
I like to launch at about 11 or 12.
Okay.
And usually when I'm hitting my best, I'm usually swinging about 3 degrees right and 3 to 5 up.
Okay.
So that kind of zeroes it out at impact. So I do a lot of TrackMan work.
Great.
And all those things. So.
And the significance of that for our viewers is when you hit up on the ball, right, 3 or 4 degrees, it's, you have to swing a little bit more to the right to kind of help zero out that pass. So you want to see the ball draw just a little bit?
For me, I'll aim like right center of the grid normally, and if it's a perfect flush shot, it's going to be like a 3-yard, just dead straight pull.
Awesome. All right, let's hit one.
That's ideal. I just got to tee it up a little.
We got teed up a little bit, right?
A little bit. Got to hit up on it.
We got to tee it up a little bit because of that attack angle. And this guy's got his own little logo on the front of this driver. That's when you know you can get it out there. Let's see it happen here. Wow, that is an impressive sound coming off the face. You catch that in the center?
Pretty close.
Yeah. What's your miss? Like when you is there a habit that happens that you catch it high in the face or out on the toe? Is there anything that you fight as far as the contact on the face?
I mean, for me, if I'm hitting it really well and hitting it in the center a lot, my miss is usually just going to be a pull left.
Just a pull?
But for instance, I was kind of battling. I didn't have my best stuff this past weekend.
Okay.
The East Coast Classic, and I was battling, kind of hitting it like a heel.
Okay.
I think about my legs were getting tired, kind of coming into it, and kept hitting heel shots, but it worked out.
So we're going to be limber. We're going to keep
Absolutely.
our head behind it. That allows you to hit up on it and out to the right. Let's do one more here.
Okay.
Let's try it again. I've got the extra tee.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think that's a good advice for our viewers. If you're going to try to hit up on it, you got to tee the ball up higher. So many of them are hitting down on it and they tee it lower.
That's what I see with a lot of amateurs I play with in pro-ams. They're all down and left. But that's also why golf, for me, it's difficult because a lot of the irons, as you know, it's like shafts in front. You're swinging down and left to hit, a very flatted shot with the iron. So.
All right, so here we go. So we got one more here. Got the big stick. Look how far he's playing the ball forward. He's well behind it at address.
Oh, I killed that one.
I don't think that's what happened there. We gotta. I think you may have broken the tee actually there. Let's try that one more time. That's a first here at.
Oh, I hit that one good too.
You broke the sim. You broke the tee. Let's try it again. One more there. That's a lot of club head speed. What have you maxed out at club head speed?
154, 227 ball speed.
154 club head
on track,
speed.
man.
How many faces have you caved in?
Quite a bit. I used to, in my career at the beginning, if I missed, I'd break it. But now I'm hitting it in the center a lot more.
All right, let's do one more here. Here we go. Loose arms, head behind it. 154-mile-an-hour club head speed.
Go.
That's some good stuff. That is impressive. I know it's impressive at home, but it's really impressive standing here. Really good stuff. We might have a few viewers at home that want to try and compete with you guys and get it out there. You can go register at worldlongdrive.com.
Thanks for joining me on Golf Channel Academy. I'm your coach, Fred Griffin. Today I'm going to help you get a little more pop with your drive. We're going to work on getting you a little more distance with the driver. So one of the things we want to do with the driver is make sure when we're coming through impact, we want to be clearing this left leg. So if we can get some speed with the hips by getting the left leg to extend and the hip to clear, it's going to give you some hip speed. And at the same time, we want to create some pop in the shaft. I use an impact bag to give you the image. As I'm coming in, clearing that left leg and getting it out of the way, I want to create some pop to that bag like that. So when I'm coming into the ball to hit it, I'm going to imagine the same extension in that leg and how much acceleration I'm giving the club to pop into that bag. That should add me some speed at the bottom. So here we go. So remember, don't hold back. You want to go after that drive with some power. Pop that bag hard and good extension in that left leg, and it'll create a lot of whip with your driver.
Precise distance and also accuracy. What do you do?
Well, I think my tip usually is to not overswing and keep good balance. Every time I overswing, I have a little longer swing. Every time I do that, sometimes I get a little wild. So I'm just trying to, if I need to hit one in the fairway, I like to hit a cut, take the left side out of play. So I always try to hit down the left side and try to hit a kind of a power cut is my go-to shot, and that's what all players have to have, especially off the tee. Whatever you're going to hit, a driver or a 3-wood, you have to have that confidence where you feel like you know where it's going, and if you can eliminate one side, some guys like to eliminate the right, I like to eliminate the left. So that's what I'm trying to do. So not overswing, try to keep in balance, which sometimes for me is kind of hard to do. And my routine is 3 waggles and go. And I'm not looking out, I'm just looking at a spot in front of my ball where I want it to take off from. So I eliminate the danger, is what I've been taught. So I'll get over it. 1, 2, 3.
Is that right on the sprinkler line there?
I think that's pretty good.
That's exactly.
My balance wasn't that great, but I'm not more worried about that than overswinging.
Swing that really folks at home can take away.
Well, I'm trying to get on his good side, so he will teach me how far, how much further I could hit it, because pound for pound, he's one of the longest guys I've ever played with. It's fun to watch. But Derek has great fundamentals. You can just see he's been around the game of golf. He's got a wonderful grip, great setup, makes a full turn. Sometimes he's a little quick with his legs because he's got powerful legs, and his transition gets a bit fast. But if he can slow it down a little bit, his iron game will be as good as his driver is, and your touch on the greens is phenomenal.
Thanks.
Really good.
I'm going to take lessons from your iron game.
Oh,
you're phenomenal with the iron game.
We're about to take a look now at your game, your rhythm, and all that kind of stuff, but let's talk about the fundamentals first. Where did you learn them from, and as a PGA professional, how do you pass those along?
Well, I'm proud to say that I learned from PGA professional Jim Little. He came to our course in 1978, and he said, hey, you need to participate in the junior clinics. And so after year 1, I said, well, I don't need those junior clinics anymore. And he said, no, come back. and to your point, he just instilled in me the fundamentals: good grip, good stance, good balance during the swing. And every year for a number of years, I took that junior clinic, even whether I felt I needed it or not. And that just built that foundation.
It's paying off. I mean, you can tell whether you're a good golfer or not so good just by standing over the ball. You don't have to swing. It's just because you have the basics right.
So I have a good overlap here, and making sure that you want to get in it, and you don't want to have grip pressure down on the right hand. You want to have it up to the top of the grip, give you more club head speed.
And when you say pressure, what kind of pressure is there in your left hand, right hand, left hand?
In the right hand, very little. Left hand, again, just the top 3 fingers, and trying to get the pressure as far up the club as I can to build that centrifugal force coming into the ball. So.
Now you mentioned balance as well. Where do you have your weight?
Weight is pretty even, 50-50, and then but I drive very hard with my legs, and that's, I think, where I get my power. So, okay. Ball's off the left heel. A little quick.
A little quick, but again, good distance.
Yep.
I'm Michael Breed. Jordan Spieth, what an unbelievable week he had. What an amazing 4 rounds of ball striking, 75% of his greens in regulation. What are the keys that Jordan focuses on? Well, one thing, and it's right from Cameron McCormick, his coach. He said, I want to make sure that Jordan's got that weight in his trail leg going right down that heel. Jordan has a tendency to get a little bit too much activity with the hips in a sliding type fashion, and what happens is that he loses consistency with the strike. Well, when you're hitting 75% of the greens at Augusta National, you've got control of what's going on. When the lower body is moving too much and the upper body is responding to that, you're basically moving the ball around when you're trying to hit, and it becomes very challenging. You might hit it fat, you might hit it thin, you might top it, whatever. What we want to make sure of is that we've got that lower body nice and stable so that the body can rotate properly through the strike. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to feel that you're just in the backswing, you're getting a lot of push down on that heel right in there as you rotate back, that heel is going into the ground. We don't want that heel to slide up. We don't want the weight to get to the outside part of the trail leg. So what you're going to do is Just kind of feel like there's a soda can right underneath your heel. And when you take the backswing, you're gonna squash that soda can just like that. And that's going to give you a lot of balance and speed to be able to move through that strike. And what you get when you do that is a very, very stable lower body, and that allows you to be efficient and rotate properly through the strike. Sequence, you've probably heard that. It allows you to sequence properly. All that with that one little simple thought. That's what you can learn from Jordan Spieth, and that's how you can improve your game. Now, the other thing you can do to improve your game, every Monday night, it's the Golf Fix. I'm Michael Breed, the host, and we're here helping you play your best golf.
One that you're just struggling with, because you don't really know exactly how to position your body in order to hit the ball. And the reason why it's so hard is that the ball is farther from you. And what I mean by that is this. In a normal situation, when I'm hitting the club that I have, my feet are up here. If I go straight line off of that position right there, that's probably level. This ball might be, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches below what would be a level lie, something like that, right? So we have to accommodate ourselves to that lie. How are we going to do it? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to do everything we can to try to bring this part of the body down to a position what would be a normal, I've got 7-iron in my hand, what would be a normal 7-iron shot. So how do I accommodate that? Well, first, I'm going to widen up my stance. So if my normal width of stance with the 7-iron might be there, I'm going to go down into here. Second thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit more knee flex. So my knees are going to now be here. Now I've done a pretty good job of getting lower to the ball. Finally, what we may need to do is just add a little bit of waist bend. Now, this is the last thing that I want to try to do. What I'd like to try to do is to keep that waist bend the same, because the amount of waist bend that I end up getting is going to either allow more or restrict turn. That's what ends up happening. If I get more bent over, I restrict the amount of turn that I can get in the backswing, and that's going to rob distance from me. So that's my last sort of adjustment that I would make. Wider stance, a little bit more knee flex, and then in this situation, I don't need to add any more waist bend. So now here, now I'm just going to hit it. So what I want you to remember is, when you get to where you have this ball below your feet, you have to make some accommodations. And those accommodations are all with purpose of bringing this part of your body down to what would be a normal distance of the ball to that. So in other words, if I'm on a level lie, I might need 4 feet of space between the ball and the sternum of my body. When I get to where the ball's below my feet, this particular situation was about 4 or 5 inches below. I need to get this to get 4 or 5 inches lower. And the way you're doing that is you're widening the stance and adding some knee flex, and then as a last resort, add a little waist bend. Those adjustments are going to allow you to be more successful in this situation.
You want a bit more spin out of your wedges. You want the ball to stop where you hit it on the green. The pros seem to be able to do that really, really well. They get the ball to go the right distance, and the ball stops nice and quickly when it hits the green. They've got a few things in their favor. They have dry conditions, closely mown grass, and the golf ball they're using. So a quick test Take your golf ball, rub the covers together, and it feels like they're gripping a little bit. That's a good thing. We want that grip on the club face. That's friction that's going to create. Technique-wise, the thing that we need, we have to have a downward angle of attack into the golf ball. The club has to be coming on the downswing into the golf ball. Simplest way to get that correct is put the ball in the right spot in the stance. Unlikely you're going to get the golf ball to spin much from the front of your stance. Put the ball in the middle of the stance, feet pretty close together, and then take about an equal distance step with each foot. From there, focus on the golf ball, nice smooth swing. Just let things happen. You should get a ball first contact, downward angle of attack, create some friction, and stay close to the hole.
Like Olin, who's U.S. Senior Open champion, and you've had teachers like Mike Wade back in your chapter back in New York in Nassau County, but being here with a Champions Tour professional who's gotten it done, not just teaching, but also playing out there, winning tournaments and all that, are you able to soak up the knowledge even this early in the week?
I got lucky with my pro. He definitely taught me a lot in one round out at Pebble.
Good deal. Now you guys are working on a short game. I saw you with some nice spin on your little pitch shots here or whatever. What are you guys doing?
Well, so that's what we're working on here. Faith has a beautiful golf swing. But the short game is sometimes a little bit different. Certainly there's more versatility in the short game. I mean, most of the time when we get a 7-iron in our hands, we're just trying to make good contact, get the ball going, however far it is that we hit a 7-iron. But with the short game, there's so many variations on what you can do. You can play the ball back and square the face and hit a lower, more running shot. You can play the ball forward and hit kind of a flop shot, or you can put the ball somewhere in between and mess with the face angles and get some spin on your ball. And so that's what we're working on. So what we're working on here is Faith is trying to take a more aggressive delivery, and she's trying to quiet her body and deliver the club head a little more, get a little bit more flight on it, have that first catch, you know, the one that everybody applauds for, that we all love watching that spin. So why don't we show them what we've been working on, okay? She's got a 54-degree wedge in her hands, and we're going to that second pin. What Faith is working on, you see her stance is relatively narrow. She's going to be quiet with her body. She's going to have a relatively long swing and then an abrupt, quick delivery. And that imparts a really nice strike. You see that ball catch for the first time and then run out. It's a very consistent way to pitch the ball. So why don't we go to the shorter pin now? What would you do differently here? Maybe play it back a little bit farther, have it flight a little bit more down, and have it run into the green instead of flying it on the green and having it check, right? So there the ball's just slightly further back in her stance, but it's still going to be a relatively crisp motion. And there you have it. It landed just short of the pin. That might go in. That's a great shot.
Must have misread that one.
I don't hit it as far as some of the girls that are bigger than me, so I think it's important to focus on my short game, and that's really made me work harder on it and improve more in that area.
And that's going to be a big advantage for you, too, because you're not just out there beating a golf course to death. You're having to learn the rest of the game. So when the length of your driver catches up with the rest of your game, you're going to have so much more versatility in what you're able to do, and that's when the scores start to plummet, right? We want to see, it's one of the things that made Tiger so great when he was in his prime, was there was never a situation that he got himself into where he would look at it and go, I've got to bail out here, I got no shot, right? He would manufacture something, and that's what the old style golfers did. It's what made Seve such a brilliant player. I mean, I remember watching Seve and Brad Faxon get into a bunker with 2 irons, hitting bunker shots, and you know, here's Brad, who's the ultimate creative guy on our tour, but he couldn't hold a candle to what Seve was doing because he'd done it his whole life on the beaches in Santander, right? Nice. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to learn different ways to do the same thing, get the same result, get better results.
The shots that I tend to practice not quite as often around the greens is the bump and run shot. I do it with a square face. The ball position is about middle of my stance, maybe a touch back. Same setup as my golf swing, maybe a little narrower stance. But then it's all about making good contact, getting a little bit of a descending blow on that ball, but I want that ball to get on the ground and roll as soon as possible.
We're in the media center, and it's time to take some questions from the class. You ready to go, Martin?
Yes, I am.
All right, he's ready. All right, this one comes to us from Jim Wright, who competes on the Golf Channel Amp Tour, and he says, I have a slight fade, but I want to draw the ball as needed. Any drills or tips?
I do. Look, one of the great joys of doing this work on the Golf Channel is I've spent such a lot of time with a Tom Watson, a Bernhard Langer, Retief Goosen, Ian Woosnam, so many great players. And every one of them says the following with the draw. Preset it. Let me show you what preset it is. Don't change your swing, just preset it.
Okay.
Aim your body somewhat to, for me it's to the right because I'm a right-handed player. If I'm going to draw it, I want to start to. Rule number 1, aim to the right, to the push side. Rule number 2, close the club face to you. Now, it might be almost pointing at the target, but it's certainly, you can see, it's closed to me. And then really just make your normal swing, which is what I'm going to do now. Take your normal swing, and that ball should then draw its way, here it comes, back to the target. For a long, long time, I tried to make it much more complicated.
Wow, get in the hole.
That would be a draw of significance. And do you know who I thank for that? I really
Who do you think?
I thank Tom Watson, I thank Bernhard Langer, I thank Woosnam, and I thank Larry Mize recently, because I made it much more complicated. I was trying to swing out and twist it. You don't need to. Preset it. It works beautifully, as you can see.
I love this. By presetting it, you've done all the work, essentially, before you've even put that golf club in motion.
Correct.
And then you do that.
This week at the Masters, you're going to see a lot of different short shots hit around the greens, and that's the thing that I love about Augusta National. It offers so many different options. One of the things that you will see, one of the shots that you're going to see, is this sort of high lofted kind of flop shot where the ball is way up into the air. It kind of lands close and then it rolls out. Now, this is a shot that many of you struggle with because you don't quite know what you're doing or how to get this ball to have trajectory. And really, it's a very simple thing. The first thing that you're going to do is when you grip the club, I want you to just grip it open just a little bit. Even though it might be a 60-degree wedge, I still want to activate some bounce here. I want this club to glide along the ground. And the second thing I want you to pay attention to is when we're trying to get trajectory, I want the handle of the club to remain close to my lead hip as I go through. If I get that handle running away from me, this golf ball is going to come out a little bit lower, a little bit fast, and it's going to go flying through, not have the trajectory that I want. What I want to do is I want to keep that handle very close to my lead hip. And what will happen is the ball will go very high, be very, very soft, and it's not going to roll a lot. And this is what happens at Augusta National. Those green speeds are very, very fast. The greens can get very firm. And as you're hitting these shots, the ball can tend to run away from you. You're going to see a lot of these flop shots or high lofted shots. That's how you're going to do it. Pay attention to that handle and its proximity to the hip. Now, another shot that you're going to see is going to be sort of this low shot. I've got a 9-iron in my hand here. And what you're going to see when you see this shot is the ball is going to land very close to the player, and it's going to run a long distance, far greater than they are used to. And the reason why is the green speeds are so much faster than a normal week. So that's a 9-iron there. And it just hits that other ball. But you can see when I hit that shot, I landed that ball right about here, is almost maybe 15% of the way. And as I do that with this 9-iron, because there's not a lot of spin on that ball, this one's got a chance to go in. Let's pay attention. Dave, have you got it? Oh! Look at how that ball continues to go flying away from the hole. As we are doing this, we have to make sure that we have great tempo. And what I mean by that is, so many times you get into here and then you rush this thing or you flick this club head, and as you do that, it changes the loft, it changes the speed, and the ball comes out and it jumps off the face. What we're thinking about when we're doing this is almost like a putt. I'm not holding it like a putter, but it's almost like a putt with the tempo. And now it kind of traps out, lands about where I want it to land, and then will continue to roll down to the hole. That's what you're doing with a 9-iron. Now, You may even see a little 6-iron shot. And these little 6-iron shots, this was very popular many, many years ago. But at Augusta National, it is still played that way, or can still be played that way, because the area around the greens allows for it. When I start hitting a shot like this with a 6-iron, this is where I'm going to switch my grip to like a putter grip. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this like a putter, and I'm going to continue to swing this with great tempo. That ball will land still very close to me, still closer than the 9-iron, but you can see it's fairly soft when it comes out. And this shot here, the reason why I'm a big fan of this shot is because it allows me to have that feel of the putting stroke. So I'm a little bit close. When you get into the shot, you're going to feel like the heel of the club is just slightly in the air because the club shaft is a little bit taller. And then it's the same exact thing. We're just brushing. And that ball's going to run right through that fairway and get onto the green and run like a putt. The final option, and this is an option that I think for you at home may be the best option, and that is the hybrid. And the reason why I love this so much is because it's got so much surface area right here on the bottom of the club. So this club is going to glide along the ground. And if I bottom out a little too soon, it's still going to move along the ground like a putt. And I want you to, again, do exactly what you did with the 6-iron. You're going to feel those shoulders sort of up and down like a seesaw. And here, when I do this, this is just a putt. I'm not even thinking about a landing area here. What I'm thinking about is, how hard do I need to hit this? If this were all green and this were a putter, how hard would I need to hit this ball to get down to the hole? This looks pretty good. This looks really good. This looks fantastic. That's how I want you to do this. I want you, when you get over this, to just imagine, how hard do I need to hit this? Don't let this bother you, because the hybrid is going to be able to offset that. It's amazing how that works. The final thing I'm going to tell you when you're hitting these short shots, particularly when you see this around Augusta National, you do not want to leave these shots up the hill. Don't be afraid to let that ball get a little bit past the hole, because when you're putting back up the hill, what you're going to do is you're going to slow the green speeds down, which will allow you to play less break, which will allow you to make more putts. The golf to me. Here I am near the hazard, and as I look for my tee shot, what I notice is that my ball has actually gotten into the hazard here. Now, what do? Well, I've got a number of options here. The first option is I can hit the ball, but there's a lot of critters and things, and I'm not a critter fan, so I'm not going in there. I'm not going to hit that. Now I have to know how to proceed. So what do? Well, I carry with me the rules of golf, this book, and what I would recommend is you get one of these rules of golf book and put it into your bag, so that when you're playing, if you come upon something that's a little bit different, that you at least know how to proceed. So, under Rule 26, it says water hazards. What are my options in the water hazards? And they are as follows. 1, I can go back to the tee where I originally hit the shot from, and I can play that shot with a penalty of 1 stroke. So I would have hit 1 to here, I go back to the tee, 2, and then I hit my third one, 3. So it would be 2 shots that I've hit and then 1 penalty stroke. So where I would lie would be 3, okay, after I've hit that shot. Or I can keep this entry point between me and the hole and go as far back as I want to go. Well, that option is probably a bad one, because if I did that, I'd be way back over there, maybe, I don't know, 250 yards back that way. That's a bad option. Now, my next option is I can take the point of entry into the hazard. And if my golf ball is right there, my point of entry might have been right here. So I take that point of entry and I get 2 club lengths on this side of the hazard, and I can drop in there. Or I can go equidistant on the other side of the hazard and drop from there. Again, a one-stroke penalty. Well, I'm not going to exercise that option, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to exercise this option of 2 club lengths. Put my rule book back here. I'm going to get my ball with my golf club because I don't want to get my hand in there. Now what I do is I take the tee. I'm going to mark my point of entry right there. I'm going to take 2 club lengths, and you can use your driver here. I'm just going to use my club that I'm going to hit. So there's 1 club length, 2 club lengths. And as long as I'm not nearer the hole than my point of entry, which I'm not, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my ball within those 2 club lengths. That ball is now in play. It's not nearer the hole than where the original point of crossing the hazard is, and I'm within my 2 club lengths. Now I'm going to pick up my tees, and I'm going to exercise my shot. So remember, keep the rule book in your bag. Know what your options are when you get into a hazard here. And what you're going to find is it's actually going to help you shoot lower scores because you have choices when you get into this hazard here, and you get to choose the option that's best for you. So right now, my ball lies 2. I'm hitting my 3rd shot. If I'd have gone back to the tee and taken that option, I'd be 3 and hopefully in the fairway. So here, I'm just going to hit this close to the hole. So remember, keep the rule book in your bag, know your options. It's going to help you shoot lower scores.
So the first quote out of one of Bobby Jones's books: the club is placed diagonally across the left hand from the pad on the palm above the little finger to the middle joint of the index finger. Now, you can't see it on that glove, which is why I'm going to take that glove off, and in Martin Hall's golf bag, I suggest you do likewise. In Martin Hall's golf bag, I have a ratty old glove always, and I have drawn on it. Yes, I've done exactly what Bobby Jones suggested, and I've got the club running from just above the little finger to the middle joint of the index finger, and I've put an X there a little bit to get the heel pad on top. Now, most people think, yeah, I get the grip. Do you know what? I teach for a living. I can promise you most people don't do this, and this is the first building block you have to get right. Let me show you a couple of things here, viewers. I'm actually going to take a grip that I really don't like one bit. This is the one I see the most, where the club would be sitting up in the palm, perhaps down too many fingers in the palm, and I can assure you what you're going to get most of the time when the club is sitting up in the palm, and perhaps a couple of the first 2 fingers wrapped around, most times you are going to get a shot that shovels out to the right, almost every time, closely followed by some gymnastic, Olympic-like maneuver on the downswing to get it on target. Now, if you will just start with, as Bobby Jones said in the 1930s, if you will start with getting the club right there, if you would do me a favor in 2015 and get an old glove and draw those lines on, I'm going to be happier, the ghost of Bobby Jones is going to be happier, and you know what? You are going to be happier, because from there I have every chance then of getting this ball about on target. A little bit right, but certainly better.
Hi, Tony Jacklin here. This is a tip for young and old alike. If you're trying to get more distance off the tee, which most of you are, be sure you're not gripping the club too tight. If you hold onto the club tight, you're obviously going to minimize the speed that the club can go. You need to hold onto the club, but not for dear life. Hold onto the club tight enough not to let it go, but you need to be able to flex your wrists, and the club head needs to then move, quickly through the ball. A friend of mine, accidentally I found him holding onto the club for dear life, and of course he was reducing his ability to create club head speed at impact, which is distance.
I want to talk to you about how you can control this putter face and make more putts. And the key to being successful with controlling this putter face is making sure that you're controlling what's happening with this grip. It's as simple as that. And one of the reasons why you're struggling with consistency with this putter face is because of grip pressure. And the key to being successful in putting is our tempo has to be smooth, our grip pressure has to be consistent, and what happens in putting, we have to be able to ultimately control the speed of the putter head and the speed of the golf ball. And that's where we get into our connection to this club. One of the ways that you're going to do this successfully is hold the putter properly. And so when we stand here and we hold the grip properly, what happens is that we have it going through the palm of the hand. And when it goes through the palm of the hand, that angle between the club shaft and the lead forearm there is no angle. It's dead straight. We don't want to hold it where there's a massive, we want it to be dead straight like that. Now, where does that take us? That takes us into the grip that's on the club. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the right one for us. So what Golf Pride has in this Tour Center is some really important stuff. The first thing is that you've got a couple of different options. You've got what we call the contour grip, which is this right here, that has that little pistol, so that when you're holding it properly, that pistol is now filling this gap that would exist right in there. So when I hold this properly with the pistol, there is no gap there. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer the pistol grip. And in fact, one of the reasons why 75% of touring professionals prefer a pistol style of grip. So what Golf Pride has with the Tour Sensor is they've got two styles of grip. They've got this contour, which has that pistol, and then they've got the straight. And you can see here, it's just a straight line all the way across. Very consistent paddle on that grip, which is essential. But it's something that's going to allow you to hold this club the way you want to hold it, and you have to have some options. So you've got the straight, you've got the contour, and then as well, what you have is you have the thickness of the grip. So it comes in two different thicknesses. One is the 104 cc, what we call cc, which is cubic centimeter. That's the smaller one. And then the thicker one is 140. This 104 is about, I'm going to say about 30% bigger than a standard grip, and obviously the 140 is bigger than that. But that's also going to deal with hand size, finger size, things that you need to do or work with is your individual hand, your individual finger size, so that when you hold this, you're not holding it too tightly. And when we get to a point where we're nice and relaxed, the putter head has a flow to it, and that speed that the ball is entering the hole in now becomes consistent. So you have to be able to do that. The other thing that Golf Pride has done to increase your feel or enhance your feel is when we start to get big grips, what ends up happening is we start to reduce feel. And as we deal with this style of grip, what we have is we have a grip that enhances feel because it's made of rubber, true rubber. And what happens is that impact point happens on the face, and the shock transfers up the shaft and into the grip and into your hands. So when you're standing here and you're making a stroke, what you're going to be judging how hard to hit this based off of is what the sound is that has the right pace. And what I can tell you is that when you stand here and you look at your putting and you go, well, you know what, I'm streaky. I'm really good one day, and the next day, not so good. And part of that is going to be because of the speed with which you're hitting the ball. You don't have the proper feel because you may have a little bit too much face rotation in that stroke. Your hands may be a little bit too active. One day they're passive, one day they're active. And one of the easiest things that you can do to build that consistency back into your putting stroke and to build that feel and control of speed is to get the right grip on the putter. And I can promise you that when you do that, what you're going to find is that your consistency is going to get much, much better. We're seeing this on the PGA Tour. Players on the PGA Tour are going to thicker grips, and this Tour Sensor is going to help you shoot lower scores.
All right, this question comes from Jay, and he says he's doing really a nice job, but sometimes when his hands come in and he works his hands in and he runs the club into the ball, he hits some really bad pulls. So he'll hit a lot of good shots, but then all of a sudden the hands come in and he hits one that goes way, way left. Well, here's what normally happens with that. What people think is when they start working the handle in and the club head out, if you watch this big club, here's what's going to happen. So the handle comes down and the club head goes out. So it's the heel that goes out. If you notice the toe, as I start down the toe of the club, it's almost like I'm chopping wood right here, like this. There is no twist of the face. So if my hands come down and instead of the heel going out, if my hands come down and I turn the toe of the club out, now when it runs into the ball, what's going to happen? Well, the ball is going to go way left. So it's the fact that rather than having the handle up here, handle coming down, and the heel of the club working out this way, you start turning the face down. So that turns into a pull occasionally. So you just got to work the face a little better.
Welcome back to School of Golf. Golf Channel is the proud media partner of the First Tee with a mission to impact the lives of young people through the game of golf. For more information on how you can get involved, visit golfchannel.com/thefirst-tee. Juniors. I love teaching juniors. They are the future of the game. And recently we had David Singh come in and see us. Left-handed golfer and a very nice golf swing. Let's just run this golf swing. Goodish player, no question about it. Powerful golf swing. And he said, do I have any suggestions to him? I said, well, yes, don't change your swing too much. You can see that was a nice shot. But fortuitously, we've invented a drill and we should call it the Sing. This drill is called the Sing because you can see David had one of these new fancy iPhone watches which was on his right hand because he's left-handed. Now, the thing with Dave, well, come on over here. I'm going to show you how that was helpful. I've actually now put my watch on my trail arm here. I like David's golf swing very much, but his grip was too weak, meaning that his trail hand was turned over too much on the club. Now, I told him that, and it didn't move so quickly. And then I noticed the watch. I thought, well, gosh, when his grip is weak, and a right-hander it would be this way, the watch is pointing over there somewhere. Perhaps if we can have an overhead here, you can see where the watch would be pointing. And I said, now, David, I want you to get that watch pointing down somewhere nearer to your trail foot. And if we could have an overhead here, you can see how I've moved that watch quite a lot. So in fact, if someone's struggling with a weak grip, junior or not, if you put a watch on this hand, on the trail hand, and you say, just turn it down a bit, imagine you've turned the camera on in your iPhone, let it take a picture of your trail foot, well then you're going to actually get a grip that, if anything, might be on the strong side. And I think most of us teachers would agree that a slightly strong grip is more favorable. So let me hit one with this. Amazing how that feels with my watch on my trail hand. Let me hit one here now. And because that grip was a bit strong for me, that just tugs it to the left.
And Golf Channel is a proud partner of the First Tee, and here are some notable events coming this month. On March 12th, the First Tee of Fort Smith. They're going to host night golf, complete with glow-in-the-dark golf balls and a taco dinner. Players can only use an iron and a putter. March 20th through the 27th, the First Tee of Greater Austin hosts its HEB 9 Core Values Week. This week includes a luncheon with Ben Crenshaw and Tom Kite, plus youth participants will be standard bearers during the WGC Dell Match Play. Then on March 29th, the First Tee of Greater Houston hosts a skills challenge ahead of the Shell Houston Open. The challenge groups three-person teams with a First Tee member, a PGA Tour pro, and a Houston Texans football player.
Hi and welcome to Chris Ryan Golf. We are again at the Belfry. We are in the Telemed Performance Centre, and in this video we're going to be looking at the driver, and we're going to be looking at a couple of things that you need to do to make sure you hit this club as far as you possibly can. Just before we do that, please make sure you go ahead and follow me on my social media platforms. The details of those should be down in the corner of the screen about now. You've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, and you've got Instagram. You can connect with me on any of those. It'd be good to get some ideas from you guys on videos that you would like me to film going forwards. If you do suggest anything via those social media platforms, hopefully you will see your video up online in the not too distant future. So, the driver. We need to try and get some speed into it. We need to try and get it as far down the fairway as we can, and we're going to go through a couple of things that are present in many of the long hitters, and we're going to try and emulate those, and we're going to try and give you some things that you can do to make sure they are in your golf swing. Right, so let's look at impact. We're looking at the impact, we're looking at the lead foot, which in my case is my left foot, we're looking at the lead hip, and we're looking at the lead shoulder. Okay, so what are we after? Well, I should move that off the tee so it's not in the way. We are looking for, at impact, we want the lead hip to be inside the lead foot, and we want the lead shoulder to be inside the lead hip. Okay, so that's really important. So as you can see on the screen, you've got me hitting a driver there, and we've just stopped at impact, and you can see how I've drawn a line which goes from the lead foot through the hip, through the shoulder, and you can see that that line is certainly not a vertical line, it's a line which is angled away from the target. Now if I also show you a clip of me pitching, you're also going to see here that we get that line that goes through the foot, through the lead hip and through the shoulder, but you're going to notice that line is much closer to a vertical line. So what's the difference and why are we trying to do this?
Yeah, I think most people think alignment is purely how to align the club face at the target, which obviously is one aspect, but body alignment and the bits of the body that are important to align is more of a subject. We all talk about feet, obviously, but it's important to understand that feet have a line all to themselves and they're not the target line. So you don't aim your feet on the flag or the stripe in the fairway or whatever you think you're going to aim at. That they always run parallel. So your body alignment will always be left of your club alignment, which is important. You see it time and time again, people getting it wrong. If you get it wrong, it will throw your swing completely out, and that can lead to inside swing paths and coming over the top and all sorts of complications purely from a simple error at the start. The other thing we talk about and we need to consider is it's not just feet alignment. This is alignment of your thighs, of your hips, of your shoulders. I mean, your arms and ultimately the club is attached to your shoulders, obviously. So those have a priority over toe alignment. If you stand open to the ball already, you're potentially creating a path of club that's going to glance across the ball. So in any bat and ball sport, that will create side spin. In this case, it's left to right side spin. It's a weak shot. The problem is the more side spin you create, the more those sorts of players will actually aim further left and create even more side spin. I'm a great believer in opposites, so as much as that would be painful for an hour or two or a day or two or a week or two, if I was working with them, I would create an opposite and we would go quite closed possibly to, with change you've got to get the brain to accept it, and sometimes subtle change is just never accepted. So if you muck it up completely by going with a complete opposite and talk them through, well, teach them how to hook it. In a sense, once they've got the feeling of hooking it, then they won't fear aligning themselves correctly, let alone aligning themselves to the right, because they know it'll come back. And we're in life's about trust, but the game's about trust. We've got to get our brain to trust that things are going to happen, and I call it playing golf from a safe place. We need to be able to say, I'm okay.
This is School of Golf. I'm Karen Stupples alongside your teacher Martin Hall, here to help you handle some of golf's most difficult shots.
Well, here we are. Yes, we promised we would in the show. And we're on the 10th hole at Pebble Beach. The hole, actually, the fairway slopes left to right, and down here this is a cliff that drops off some 30 feet right down to the beach, and next stop Honolulu. So if you go right here, it really is death with a capital D.
Yep.
So you need some, now you've got room up the left, you've got some bunkers on the left and whatnot, but you've got room up the left. But the ideal shot here is probably to align your preferences. So maybe you just turn the ball over a little bit.
Yep.
And just keep it away from that right side. So I've got a couple of things I would do and tell someone to do. And I know the draw it hasn't been your stock shot, so we're going to see what we can do. I always like people when they're trying to draw it, first of all, if at all possible, to use a 3-wood. Having a touch more loft on the club means you'll get a touch more backspin, a little less side spin, slice spin.
Yep.
You don't get quite so much the back of the ball, you get a bit more of the bottom ball. So it is more difficult to slice a 3-wood than it is a driver. So first thing, I would use a 3-wood, as long as you can reach the hole. Second thing, I like light grip pressures when you're trying to draw it. I like the grip pressure to stay light throughout the swing when you're trying to draw it.
Yep.
Again, I mean, not trying to be too positional. We said playing under pressure, not too positional. So 3-wood, light grip, and my sort of thought, my picture, you talked about images, my picture is a right-handed tennis player hitting a top spin forehand. So sometimes I'll take a practice swing just with my right hand and just really get that feeling of taking my right hand, almost trying to touch the flagstick there, a very long right arm through the ball. So I'm going to walk you through the process.
Okay.
You've got the 3-wood because I asked you to.
Exactly.
I want you to hold the club nice and lightly, get a feeling for that. Once you've done that, I want you to take your left hand off the club.
Yep.
And I want you to make a few swings with just your right hand. And I want you to really feel that your right arm gets really long through the ball. Just like a Federer or a Nadal sort of hitting a Federer, trying to hit a really long topspin forehand. Gotcha. And that would probably be enough to do it. Then just put your left hand on.
Okay.
Picture the shot, as you said in the show, the visualization.
Yes.
Don't try and hit it off the right edge. I mean, aim about down the middle.
At those houses down there.
Well, just that one house. I know it looks like it's houses. It's actually one person's house.
Very
lucky. Hard to believe. Yeah, lucky chap. Or lady. Let's see what we get here.
Okay.
See if we can just put a touch of turn on it.
With a lighter, I could feel myself trying to strangle the club already.
Yeah, very, very light. Let that right arm get long through the ball. And you are now, Karen, I can certainly turn the ball over a touch into the slope. Stopples.
Try to, anyway.
Yeah, so I've got to follow that wonderful drive. Well, let's trade places here.
Okay.
Let me see if I can do that. Not an easy drive by any means here. We've got the Pacific Ocean to the right, and it's a sloping fairway, so it does take just a tiny draw. I don't want to try and overdo it. But again, to repeat, no apologies for repetition here, a lofted club, a 3-wood, would probably serve you better with trouble on the right. And even if I don't hit the fairway, a little bit on the left side is clearly better than on its way to Honolulu there. So I'm going to have a lightish grip, and I'm going to try and get the right arm somewhat long through the ball. Don't want to overthink this, but here we go. So I've got a lightish grip. I'm looking at my target. I'm visualizing my shot, and here we go. And that one is not too bad. I would take that every single time on the 10th hole at Pebble Beach. May not be my best drive. You can see there with the slope of the ground how it's going to the right, which is why it favors a slight draw. But that's the way I would suggest you do it if you've got trouble on.
Hanging back and you're topping your drives, and there's nothing more frustrating than not getting off the tee well. From what I see, it's almost always because your ball position is too centered and your shoulders are too level. So in an effort to get into a good impact, you're going to try to fall back and get into a good position. But I want you to do it before you swing. I want you to do it in your setup. So make sure that your ball position for your tee shots is more forward, toward the instep, and when I do that, what it's going to allow us to do is tilt our shoulders back away from the target. So you're already in a really great impact position, and you're not going to have to try to recreate it through backing up, which would tend to make you top it. So if I set up well, then I'm already in that nice athletic position so that when I swing through, I'm not having to compensate. I'm already there. So remember, set up well, ball forward, add your shoulder tilt, and then you won't need to fall back to make nice, proper contact.
If you're hitting behind the golf ball with your driver, there's really only a few things that can cause it. You're either dropping and getting closer to the ground, your spine is falling backwards and your weight is falling backwards in your downswing, or the club's getting released too early. Here's a simple way to solve all three of those. Hold the club above the ball and make a simple practice swing without hitting it. You should be able to miss the golf ball and hear the swoosh of the club over top of it. If you hear the swoosh early, we know that we're releasing the club too early. If you happen to hit the golf ball, you know that you're dropping. Making this practice swing above the golf ball, listening for that swoosh, will give you that solid strike that you're looking for.
Hitting your iron fat, there's nothing more frustrating because you've put yourself in a position and when you hit the ground before the golf ball just doesn't go anywhere. Understand, if you crowd your club, if you stand too close, when your arms extend on the downswing, the club is going to hit the ground before the ball. So what I want you to check is that you're in good golf posture, where you're bent forward from your hips and my chest is forward where my arms can hang. I want to make sure I have about an open hands distance in between my thighs and the end of the club. And just that little simple adjustment mid-round can get rid of hitting the golf ball fat. So good posture, my little in-round check. So give yourself enough room to make a swing and stop hitting the ball fat.
What I typically do in a tournament round is I'll pace my chips for one thing. Like for this example, I've already paced this chip and I've got a 24-yard pitch here. And based upon my practice, I've come to learn that with my 60-degree wedge, I tend to fly the ball 2/3 of the way and release the ball a third of the way. So what I like to do is after I've paced the chip, I'll pick a spot that's 2/3 of the way there, and that's my point of focus. Rather than having it all the way at the hole, I'd seem to be more effective by picking a spot there and then trying to land the ball there.
Very consistent. Should we walk out there with the basket?
We'll go ahead and do that, yep. So I'll go out to 24.
Okay. I won't throw your counting off.
18, rather. So this is probably the area where I'd like to land the chip.
Okay.
Now you do have to take into account this is a little downhill, so I'm going to have to adjust a yard or two the other direction, or if it's uphill, the other way. But basically this is the area I'll try to land this shot. So I'll put my little practice tool here.
And you got a little slope, so obviously you're going to go from left to right.
Right.
So now you're going to try and land it with your 60 right there on the basket.
And what this has helped me do is it changes my point of focus from all the way to the hole to just a particular spot. You know, I know if I can land my pitch around that area, it'll be a pretty good shot. So I'm going to try to land it a little short of the basket just because it's a little downhill. A little short of it.
And then it rolled it down there.
I've always felt like that the better chippers roll the ball more than they fly the ball. I mean, there's obviously times you have to loft it very high, but that rolling ball seems to be a lot more effective.
Have you got a question for a PGA Tour Champions player? Go to our Golf Channel Academy page and ask a champion. Here's John from McKenzie, Tennessee with a question for 2013 Senior Open champion Mark Wiebe.
Hey Mark, what can I do to work on my golf game in the winter months when it's too cold outside?
John, thanks for your question. It is a dilemma for us that live in an area where we don't have the great weather like we do here in Hawaii. I have a thing called a swing fan, and it's 4 fans on the end of a stick with a golf grip on it, and I swing it back and forth, and that kind of gives me some resistance with the fans against just no wind, just against itself. I would just recommend stretching and trying to keep loose so when you do get to the sun, you're ready to play.
this month is golfing in the elements here at the Golf Channel. You and I have played plenty of golf in the cold weather up near Liverpool, in Royal Liverpool, Hoylake, that sort of area. I always thought that keeping your head warm, bobble hat, something like that was important. But you actually said that the extremities are what, and also in the cold, tell us about hydration, because that's pretty important too.
So let's start with the first thing, right? Where do you get frostbite?
In Stoke-on-Trent, England.
Where? Good answer. Fingers and toes, right?
Yes.
The reason is you don't get frostbite in your internal organs, your kidneys, because that's your core part of the body. And your body is designed, when it gets cold, it shunts all the blood to keep these organs warm at the expense of your fingers. So in the cold, your blood flow to your fingers go down. Now the fingers are less sensitive, right? Secondly, you start shivering. And so the tiny little muscles that control the hand, that control fine movements, they get tired and they run out of energy. So both those things, when you want to play the fine shots, it affects you.
What is interesting to me is, you sit in the field of medicine, I sit in the field of golf instruction. I know that when I play, I was just back in England just a few weeks ago, and it was cold for a Florida boy. And I know when my hands get cold, it is much more difficult for me to square the club face up.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I sort of, it makes perfect sense to me. To the degree that, as a matter of fact, when it gets cold, I've found that for me, for Martin Hall, I need to strengthen my grip or close the club face. If it was really cold, my golf ball tends to do this, or it tends to go out to the right. I've learned that through experience because I can't control the club face. So when it's cold, I have to keep ski gloves on, keep the mittens warm, keep mittens on, keep the hands warm. Incredibly important to do that. And I need to strengthen the grip. Now, just one thing, I mentioned it, but it is important, even when it's cold. Water?
Yes, absolutely. This was key. Key. We tend to think we get dehydrated in the heat, right? But in the cold, you get just as dehydrated. So you lose liquid or fluids from your breath. In the cold, we get something called cold diuresis, which means you're going to urinate a lot more and more frequently, as we all have experienced. But you don't feel thirsty. And the last thing you want to do is to drink water in the cold. But you absolutely have to, and you're going to forget. So what I tell people is mark your scorecards. You know, put a circle around the holes that you need to drink water on, and even if you don't feel thirsty, drink it at that time. Schedule.
So where do hybrids fit into your game? Well, it all depends what you're trying to replace. If you're trying to replace your fairway wood, you'll choose a hybrid with a bigger head. It's more forgiving and hits the ball further. If you're trying to replace your iron, you might choose a hybrid with a smaller, more blade-like appearance that's more workable. At the end of the day, hybrids are meant to bridge the gap between irons and fairway woods and replace those difficult to hit long irons. So are hybrids for you? Well, if you're hitting your 3 and 4 iron well, then maybe not. However, if you're struggling with your long irons, think about switching your 3 and 4 iron for a hybrid. They're much easier to hit and more forgiving, and offer a great alternative from around 200 yards. Lofts appear on hybrids in two forms. In degree form to help you ensure consistent gapping between clubs, and in numerical form to help you replace your irons directly. A 3 hybrid is equivalent to a 3 iron, a 4 hybrid to a 4 iron. The shaft of your hybrid is shorter and more iron-like to help you increase accuracy. When buying a hybrid, it's a great idea to match the shaft to that of your fairway wood to ensure consistent ball flights. Manufacturers produce a family of drivers, fairway woods and hybrids. It's a great idea to build a family of clubs just like this to ensure consistency of ball flight and accuracy across your long game. So there you have it. Hybrids are the best of fairway woods and long irons. Thanks for watching the Golf Bidder Hybrid Buyer's Guide.
So Charlie, comments over this week, and so you've got a band-aid on your cheek for anyone that hasn't seen. Just explain to our viewers briefly why it's there.
Well, Cara, I was one of those kids who grew up on the golf course, and the old people would say, you better wear sunscreen, if not, you're going to get skin cancer. I didn't wear the sunscreen, and now I've got skin cancer. It's squamous cell carcinoma very early. They've taken it off. I had some here and also had some on my arm. I'm going to be fine, but I'm taking the opportunity to tell people, PGA professionals, parents, get sunscreen in particular on kids, because the damage you get today doesn't turn into skin cancer until 20, 30 years down the road. So it's important for everyone, not only adults, but especially kids, get that sunscreen on. And there's other ways also that you need to protect yourself.
Right, because you might think that you're invincible, but you need to know that no one is invincible, and it might come back and haunt you a bit later on in life, as our own Charlie has experienced. And it's not just sunscreen, we're going to get into that as well, but there's other aspects you can take. Now, particularly the game of golf, most golfers do wear a cap, so hats are highly advised, right?
They are, and you know, we got a couple of great models here. This is a Wallaroo, you know, which obviously looks good on me, right?
Yeah,
but obviously this gives you full brim protection. It's a lightweight hat, but this one will actually, on the fashion side, it looks nice on you. This one will actually fade over time, you know, on the stylish side, but clearly it's functional.
Okay.
This is the Tilly Airflow. It's been around for quite some time. Feel how light that is.
Lighter one, yeah, really light.
Exactly.
Okay.
So sometimes
I think that one's more your style.
Yeah, that might be a little small for me, but you got some airflow that gets in there in the top. They've been around a long time, so you really do a good job. Make sure you wear a hat. In this day and age, there's no reason not to wear a hat like this or some kind of cap when you're out on the golf course. It really, really helps.
That's a good point, Charlie, the airflow as well. So you don't have to be too hot wearing a hat. Like this one would still keep you cool.
Exactly. So you can have some fun with it, enjoy the style, but also that offers a ton of protection. And then sunscreen itself. It's a brand called Skin Sunscreen. It's something that's been very hot among golfers. It's very popular on the PGA Tour. You see a lot of players out there using it. Carr, I used to tell the folks at home, everybody I talk to, wear sunscreen and put it on in the morning, then wash your hands off, and then don't worry about it the rest of the day. I was wrong. You have to reapply throughout the course of the day. I mean, this is a sunscreen that does a good job of staying where you put it. It's waterproof, but not all day. You have to reapply. So the rule should be put new sunscreen on when you're making the turn. And the great thing about golfers is a lot of sunscreens can be a little bit greasy. This is one that they did a really good job of taking that greasy feel out of it. So you can actually apply it, and then when you get your hands on a golf club, it's not going to slip. That's really important for a lot of the golfers.
So don't be afraid to get the sunscreen out mid-round. We often talk about what to do, how to kill time with the weight on the tee. Well, top up your sunscreen because it doesn't last 8 hours long. Or
and don't forget about your lips. Also, 30 SPF in this as well. Very good product. So the other thing is you can also take advantage of some of these great new fabrics that we have out there. We got a couple of models out here. This one over here, Schultze, I don't know that he's ever had a chance to model anything.
He's never been so quiet.
Exactly, but this is a product out by Block UV, and for the ladies, you can see it goes all the way down to offer some hand protection as well. So this is something, you know, in summertime, it's lightweight, it's very comfortable, right, Kevin? Yeah, very comfortable. And this product, the sun protection qualities, they don't wear off. It's not like something that's dipped in a chemical, so it's sort of baked into the fabric. This stays, that sun protection stays with you throughout the life of the garment. And a really good idea. But just because you're wearing this doesn't mean you don't need to wear a hat and the sunscreen, right? You got to get all of this stuff going, folks, because you don't want to go in for screening, which is very important, and have happen like what happened to me, where you get a bad biopsy back. It's not a lot of fun when the doctor comes in and says you got this, and this, and throws cancer on the end of it. So take advantage of all these technologies out, these great companies. Protect yourself and protect the kids out there, most important.
Right, it might be cool to look brown and have a tan, but it's not cool to ruin your health. Keep the hats on, the sunscreen, the long sleeves. Really educational, Charlie. Thank you.
You got it, Cara.
I'm Michael Breed, host of the Golf Fix. We've got a Facebook question here, and this Facebook question comes from Tom Evans. Just introduced a new golfer to the game. Well done by you, Tom. We should all introduce new golfers to the game. Very smart. We've been working indoors. The recurring problem is hitting behind the ball. Do you have any drills our new player can do to get rid of the problem? All right, Tom. Most new players that come to the game, most new players try to hit this ball up into the air. And what ends up happening is that the body weight falls back behind the ball in an effort to lift this ball up into the air. And as they start to lift this up into the air, the impact point starts to occur behind the ball. And a very simple drill that you can do is this. Have them set up, make a backswing, and then just pick up their lead foot and step into it. And actually make their lead foot make an additional footprint towards the target. In other words, if they start here, they're going to pick it up and it's going to come down in front of where they started with that foot. And what's going to happen is that when you do that drill, you're going to teach them to move their weight forward. And as they start moving the weight forward, they're going to start to get the impact point at or ahead of the golf ball. So they do this. They make this drill right here, step and go, and then they step into the ball and they do the exact same thing. And what you're going to do is you're going to have them make that step. All that's going to happen, don't concern yourself with the outcome of the shot. All that's going to happen is they're going to get the sensation that their body is traveling towards the target as it moves through that hit, and their impact point is going to get at the ball, at the ground. And that's what you want to do, all right? The other thing that you can do is you can have them watch the Golf Fix every Monday night at 7 p.m. I'm Michael Breed, and I'm here to help you play better golf no matter what the level.
Hi, I'm Ashley Malaska Moss. Welcome to Ask Mike. I am his daughter, and I have had the opportunity to learn from him for my whole life. I'll be doing the Ask Mike section for the next couple of weeks because Mike is out on assignment. So here I am, and I hope you enjoy. So this question comes from Alvaro, and he's talking about Mike's lesson on the range with Julie. When he pushes away with his longer clubs, the club falls behind him and it causes him to hook it. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, first of all, there's two different things that's going on here when you're swinging. One is the push away motion, which is what you're doing with your lower body. That's helping you transition into the downswing. The other thing is feeling in your hands and arms what you have to do to work the club head out to the ball. Okay, if we forget about number two, and we forget about what we're doing with our arms to get the club working out to the ball, then gravity is going to pull the club this way and it will fall behind your hands. If it does that, it's going to come too much from the inside and you have to flip it to catch the club head up. That'll cause a big hook. Okay, so instead, when you're pushing away from the ball, so when you start down and you feel like you're pushing away, as soon as I start this downswing, I'm feeling in my arms how to tip the club head out and get the momentum of the club head working out to the ball. I can't wait to do it. If I push away and I let it fall behind me, then I'm in trouble. I'm constantly having to work to catch the club head up. So instead, as you're working on pushing away, feel in your arms what you're doing to get the club head working out to the ball this way. So it's not that you're pushing away too much, it's just that the longer the club gets, the more it has a chance to fall this way if you don't do something to offset that. Okay, so be careful with that. The longer the club gets, as you push away, you're working the club head out to the ball immediately from the top of your swing. Do that, and I guarantee you it'll help fix your hook.
Welcome to Golf Channel Academy. I'm Michael Breed. What I want to talk to you about today are those little in-between shots, a 60, 70-yard shot that's not quite a full lob wedge, and what most of you at home are doing is you're hitting the ball too high. What do I mean by that? Well, what you're doing is you're a little uncomfortable with this shot, so you take your most lofted club 58 or 60-degree wedge, you're going to grip it open in this fashion here, and then you make this really big swing that gets the ball way up into the air. You kind of scoop it even. It goes up. And when it comes down, what we notice is that the launch angle right there is 39 degrees. That launch angle is 39 degrees. And what happens when you hit the ball that high in the air is you lose consistency of the start line and also what you're doing with the trajectory because the club face is varying too much. What I want you to do is I want you to go get your next lofted wedge. Maybe it's a 56, maybe it's a 54. In my case, the 54. And what I want you to do is I want you to hit these low shots. I want you to grip down on the club, make a little bit of a smaller backswing, accelerate through, but I want you to see a low trajectory. So important for you to understand that out there on the tour, these players that are at the very best, they're hitting these little low shots that are going right. You can see that one was right in the center of the target of the line. Now we come over here, look at that, I've taken almost 10 degrees off that shot, 30 degrees right there. The way you do that is get a club that's got less loft, get your next lofted sand wedge, play that ball back, flight that ball down, and when you do that, you're going to be much more consistent and you're going to shoot lower scores. Now the other way you're going to shoot lower scores, every Monday night, The Golf Fix. I'm Michael Breed, the host. You got to watch us because that's how you're going to shoot lower scores. Be there.
Shanking the ball is basically the hosel connecting with the ball first. So we're going to address the recreational player and assume that the club's coming too far from the outside and you're throwing your hands in an attempt to stop the slice, but you're actually shanking it. So it's very simple. All we're going to do is we're going to set up with a slightly closed stance. That then allows us to deliver the club more from the inside because we're assuming you're coming from the outside and throwing your hands, leading with the hosel and shanking it. So from here, we've got a little closed stance. The ball is just a little back, and then our focus is going to be to get the club to come more from the inside. So here we go. We're going to get set up. We'll go ahead and hit one. So, ball a little bit back, closed stance, club delivered from the inside close to you. Now you'll be able to get center face contact and eliminate that outside across shank.
Academy. I'm your teacher, Martin Hall. Very pleased indeed to be joined by Colin Cressel from the first tee of Lakeland, and you are one heck of a player, +2 handicap, is that right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, however, as good as you are, I've watched you hit a few, so we're going to put a tip to live online that's going to help a lot of golfers, including you. You tend to, well, tell me where you tend to get the club at the top of your swing.
I tend to cross the line at the top, or target line.
What does cross the line mean? Just show me cross the line, and then we're going to give you the fix.
Cross the line would be this way.
Yeah, the club gets pointing over here. Now, when the club gets across the line, swinging towards your target at impact becomes difficult, even for someone as talented as you. So, what are we going to do? We're going to get rid of the golf club. I've got a couple of laser pointers here, just on the end of a shaft. And I'm going to show you something that actually came from a book called The Golfing Machine by Homer Kelly, Bryson DeChambeau, very much... It's sort of finding a bit of spotlight just lately. And here's what we find when a club is on plane. And this is a great way for anybody to practice. I mean, we're talking first tee here, but anybody to practice doing this. If you got a couple of laser pointers and you attach them to a shaft, whenever you're swinging back, the laser that is the closest to the ground should be pointing at your swing line. And if you're trying to hit a straight shot, that would be pretty much at the target. And so when you finish the backswing, and this is where it's particularly important for you, Colin, as you finish the backswing, that laser's pointing at the line. Now, when you do that, you can feel the weight of the club head on that right index finger. If you'll actually just let go of the hands. Before we started this segment, I actually put a spot on Colin's hand. I think you can probably, if you can zoom in here, there we go. I shall look at it with the pointer pen. You see right there, you see it right there? There's a spot there on the right index finger. And if we just go back to the laser here, that's where you would want to feel the weight of the club head as you finish the backswing. So if a player gets swinging back on a plane and just about here, can you feel that weight on that index finger, Colin?
Yes, sir.
And that feels different, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay. Love the idea of practicing with lasers. Let's have a couple of practice swings with your club now. I wish I'd known. How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
17. Wish I'd known about it when I was 17. So a couple of practice swings. I want you to think of pointing the club. I want you to think of getting the weight on that index finger. I love it. And then through. And over a period of time, that's going to help you be a much more consistent golfer. So let's go ahead and give this one a hit.
All right.
Well, that seems to have it online there, Colin Cresswell. Beautiful golf shot. You've got a beautiful golf swing. I'm going to be looking forward to reading your name in the papers in the future. If you're not on plane, try using laser pointers. They really work. Thanks for joining us on Golf Channel Academy. For more great tips like this, make sure to watch School of Golf.
When you're hooking the irons, there's a couple things going on. One of them is actually mental. As you hit some balls left of the target, your alignment begins to get further and further right as you try to compensate. As you do that, it actually makes it a little more likely that you're going to hook it. So we want you to first deal with the alignment. The second is that through impact, the body is quitting, and as the body is quitting through the ball and it's not moving through properly, the club head is flipping past you. So what we want to do is deal with the setup issue with is the alignment. Pretty straightforward. Make sure the feet are actually parallel to the target line. And then through the ball, we want you to feel like your body, arms, and club continue to move through to the target instead of having your body stop where the club head will flip by. So make sure your feet are parallel to the target line, and then through impact, make sure the body continues to move through to the finish with the arms and club. The combination of better alignment and the feeling of the body and the arms and club moving together will stop the club face from flipping closed, and it'll straighten out your iron shots.
mentor as well, Ken Venturi. Yes. So when you have to go back to basics, you're going to an unbelievable wealth of knowledge. What can you be specific? Maybe show us as far as the lines when you get out of line.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you get back to what Ken taught you?
Basically, when we would go work together and I wasn't playing that well, it's because I was out of line. I wasn't out of swing. I've always been a right aimer. I aim to the right a little bit. When I'm getting out of my game, I'm usually aimed too far to the right. Okay. So he would get me back into at least aiming to where I'm looking, because you could be looking one way and aiming a different way. And that's where he always would say, great players don't get out of swing, they get out of line. When I get back on line, I get my hands, at the ball, it relaxes my right arm, it allows me to turn the club back, and he would always say, hand me the toe of the club, hand me the toe of the club. Well, now, instead of just handing it with your hands, you hand it with your body. So your body is rotating and turning. So when I can do that, I can stay on top of the ball, I can release my right hip a little bit more, and I have a more penetrating flight. Last year I didn't do a very good job of this, so I've been working on it all winter. So hands a little bit more ahead, more on line, release the right hip. Your eyes play tricks on you. Your eyes will always go to the target or where you're trying to aim, but your body may not be. So you just have to work on it on the range, and you put a couple sticks down, or put a couple golf balls down, or put a golf ball ahead of you, and start looking down that line and retrain your eye. Sometimes your eye gets out of whack too, so you have to retrain your eye. But once you are in line and you'll be in good position, your swing comes.
Well, this week, PGA Championship at Baltusrol. Man next to me, Lee Jensen, has won a National Open there at Baltusrol. But your victory there was not necessarily certain until you came to the 16th. Your ball was potentially in some nasty rough. Tell us about the situation first.
Well, from the tee, you couldn't tell where my ball was. A little downhill tee shot, a bunker that is fronting the green, and it's a little bit above the green, so it was a downslope. I saw my ball bounce, couldn't tell if it was on the green or not. But anyway, when I got up there, the good news was I had a great lie. The rough was pretty thick, just a little bit like this one right here. All the grass was laying with me, so I felt really good about having clean contact. So that equation was out the window. So it's a lot of times hitting out of very thick rough, it's a guessing game, like how far the ball is going to carry. And I had plenty of green to work with also. So my only concern basically was just landing it just barely on the green and playing the right break.
Okay, so once you've drawn a clean lie like that, what are the mechanics in terms of performing the shot, pulling it off?
Well, I like to just be on plane, which is just a little mini swing on plane, which is, you almost say it's from the inside a little bit. As you look down the target line of the ball to the target, the club's going to appear to track slightly inside. The mistake I see are amateurs coming too steep, cutting across it, which de-lofts, and also the leading edge comes in first, and you don't get as clean a contact. So it's a little easier. How I chip, what I believe is if you're on plane, so from the inside, you're just going to get a more solid hit. And a little drill I do is I have a shaft in the ground about like this, and all I have to do is chip under it. So my shaft works just right here on this plane. With all the grass laying with me towards the hole, I knew clean contact was going to happen. So, of course, it's not going to roll as far on this tee box. But I only had to hit it about 8 feet in the air and then let the green do the rest of the work.
Well, obviously, those who remember, you made that, went on to win one of your 2 U.S. Opens. Let's talk about Baltusrol as a venue for the PGA Championship this week. What do you think?
I just played it recently, and the rough will be fair. The fairways are going to be plenty wide enough. I believe what the PGA Championship is all about this year will be to reward good play. They're not going to penalize just a barely hit shot offline. You're going to have to really hit the ball far offline to be in trouble. The strategy of Baltusrol is great. There's a lot of bunkers. A lot of the greens are hidden from view because of bunkers that cut across the fairway or ridges. But I think by the time the tournament starts, the best players in the world are going to have it figured out. And they're going to, I would expect maybe probably 10 under par is going to win. As good as the best players in the world play these days, and as good as Baltusrol is though, but I still think with warm weather and fairly wide fairways, and as long as the guys hit it now, that they'll get around 10 under par. And I expect Jason Day and Dustin Johnson to have great weeks.
PGA Tour winner Robert Dameron. Your strategy for alternate shot. I want to hear this, my man.
Typically, the strategy for alternate shot would be you'd want two players to stay and play, keep it in play, fairways, greens, fairways, greens.
Yeah.
But if I got to pick a partner, anyone,
who would you pick?
I want to hit my second shot from where I'm usually hitting my third shot. I want Tim Burke, the longest hitter on the planet.
Tim Burke, yo.
What's up?
I can help you guys out, or what?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You want to hit a shot here? I'm doing great, pal. This is the guy you want, Tim Burke, two-time world long drive champion.
This is him. I got the wedge, the putter. He just hits the drive.
Not me, huh?
I stay in the cart.
Okay, you want him?
You're first alternate.
First alternate. All right. Let's see you hit this shot.
All right,
This is
let me grab this
390 out there. Get your driver.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah,
Let's
you
go.
got to
Let's
be
go.
ready.
Here we go.
Here, I'll tee this up.
All
Don't
right.
swing until I get out of the way.
Might need to stack a couple of those.
This is what, number 10, TPC, Louisiana.
381 yards.
380 and change.
That's a little left.
Oh, my goodness. How's your short game, Dameron?
Tight. My short game's solid.
I got teed up a
How's your
little
scrambling ability? All right, that's all right.
A little extra scrambling from there.
Just came back from South Carolina, winning a tournament. Let's see what happens here. Is there mulligans?
Yeah, we bought a mulligan.
Mulligan? Okay,
Yeah,
mulligan.
the first
All right,
tee
here we
they
go.
sell them $5 each.
Here we go.
Right.
There we go.
All right, one more time. TB.
Here's a good
That's
tee
all
height.
right.
Oh, he straightened it
Now
out a
we're
little
talking.
bit. He straightened it out a little bit.
Be short of the bunker.
There you go.
I just step up and flip it on the green.
You feeling
Flip
good
it
about
on.
the 35-yard chip?
Oh,
Piece of cake. The
Got it.
team is Burke and Dameron Moore with the two-time World Long Drive champion on this Tuesday edition Morning Drive. Great job, man.
Thanks, man. That's early.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to
It's
see you,
early,
too.
isn't it?
The most important shots, one of the toughest shots at Augusta National, is this approach shot on the 11th hole. And this hole itself is one of the most challenging. It's been actually the most difficult through history at 4.35 and its average. You can see that pond on the left-hand side, bunker on the right. The approach shot is downhill. It's a 505-yard par 4. And why is it so challenging? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to find the fairway. You've got to carve that ball. But it offers what I think is the hardest approach shot, and in that it's hard because it's a downhill shot to a very small green. And for you at home, anytime we're getting a 5-iron or a 4-iron, we struggle with getting that golf ball up into the air. Why is that? Because when you are hitting this shot, you're looking at that club, there's not a lot of loft on it, and your instinct is, I want to help this up into the air. So what you're going to do is, you're going to get the club a little bit elevated, and then when you start to come into that shot, you're going to back away, and as you back away, you're going to hit the ground before you hit the ball, and that's going to go into that pond there at 11. What we want to do, and to be successful on this shot, when we have a long iron, we want to apex this thing at above 90 feet. So let me give you a baseline here. I'm going to make just a normal swing with a 5-iron. And I make that strike. Now come on over here and let's take a peek at the apex. And the apex is really important when you're playing firm, fast greens. You have to make sure that that golf ball is getting up as high as it can. So right there what you can see is that's at 34.5 yards. So let's just say it's 34 yards. And now I'm over 100 feet. Now, when you get, say, a 4-iron or even this 5-iron, what you're going to get is you're going to get a golf ball most typically that's flighted down low. We want to get this ball way up into the air. And at Augusta National, particularly there at 11, but throughout the whole course, what we want to do is we want to try to apex this as high as we can. How do we get this ball up into the air and get it soft when it comes on the green? A couple of things. One, when you hold the club, I want you to just take this club and open it up a little bit. Particularly at 11, you're hitting off of a slight downhill slope. So we need to make sure that we've already lost trajectory on the downhill. We've got to get that up into the air. So I'm going to pre-grip this at a little bit open. And then what I want to do is I want to get some width back here with my trail hand. So I'm going to feel like I'm really pushing that back away from me. And as I start to do that, what's going to happen is this ball's going to get up into the air. Really up into the air. I should be able to get this another, say, 15 feet higher than what I got with the other one. And so when I look over there, now remember my baseline on that was at about 102. I want to see this up into the 115s, and that's what we're getting. We're getting a 115. So when you want to get this up into the air, you've got to make sure that you get some width in there and grab that club face a little bit.
Thanks for joining me on Golf Channel Academy. I'm your coach, Fred Griffin. Today we're going to be working with the driver and trying to get you a little bit more power. In my times of spending time with Jack Nicklaus when we're at Jack Nicklaus Academy of Golf, you know, one of Jack's things with his driver, he was a great driver of the ball, always hitting the ball longer than most of his other peers. So one of the things that sticks out when you look at Nicklaus's swing is his one-piece takeaway, which created a nice wide arc. In fact, when he was back here, you would notice how much extension his right arm had. Many amateurs start back with the wrist first, getting a narrow arc, and they tuck this right arm into the right side, thinking you want the arm into the side. Well, you want the arm into the side, but on the way down, not on the way back. So when I create this width with this one-piece takeaway, moving my back and shoulders and the club and arms all at one time, it's going to create a nice wide arc. And you can see how the right elbow is actually away from my right side. Now when I go into the top, you know, now the arm is going to start to fold and load the club to bring it down into the downswing. That's when you'll see the elbow come into the side. Now I'm ready to apply the club. Now it's loaded, ready to go. So when I hit this drive, my main focus is thinking of Jack. Nice wide finish, my right arm still extended, then it'll come in and let the power go after that. So remember, to improve your drive, you need to improve the width. Think of Jack. Nice and wide, let that right arm go away, and then let it go.
It's the second playoff hole, the 11th hole at Augusta National. Larry Mize playoff against Greg Norman. And he's chipped it. And has he? Well, very nearly. You almost caught lightning in a bottle twice. Okay, so let's talk about pitching, how you would pitch. We can pitch another one to here, replicating the shot. But pitching when you need a bit more height than we had in that first segment. Talk me how you would do that.
Right. Well, the big change, now all of a sudden I'm going to move the ball more forward. Back with the chipping, we had it back toward my right foot. Now I'm going to move it up toward my left foot, and I'm going to let the club release more, where before I'm really holding it there, left hand leading and down low. Now the right hand is going to get a little more involved, but obviously not too soon. But I want to let that right hand get in there so when I come here, I can throw it up in the air like that, land it on the green, have it come down nice and soft, and that happens by letting the right hand go underneath, kind of like you were going to throw a ball underhanded. Get the right hand in that motion to keep that club face from turning over, and use the loft and not try and help it at all. Let the loft of the club do all the work.
Again, I noticed the practice swings, a beautiful brushing of the grass. Some people say hit down a lot. Would you say more brushed than hit down?
I'm more brushed than hit down. I think, you know, once again, with this shot, I want the weight to be favoring the left side a little bit, and that should take care of the hitting down on it. I don't want to get to where I'm starting to hit down. I don't like that thought. I want to make sure brushing the grass, I like to think of as just sweeping through in this manner here, sweep on through, and let the loft of the club get it up in the air and throw it in there.
No, I thought we were going to have you running around the green again. One more, if you would. I must draw this to the viewers' attention. Hit one more, if you would, please, okay. Larry. You mentioned it a little bit in chipping, but such a big thing. The movement of the body seems to be bigger swings, so there seems to be more movement here.
That's exactly right. It's much more in a pitch. I'm going to have more body movement. Once again, that helps keep the hands working together and keeps them quiet. I don't want that body to stop. I want to go here, move on through it like that. And you can see how I've turned. I'm almost facing the target. Not quite, but I want to let that body rotate through and get the belly button belt buckle more toward the target.
So we're in the rough, short pitch shot, not much green to work with. Because we're in the rough, what's going to happen is there's going to be less spin on this ball as it comes out of the rough. So we've got to modify things to give us a little bit more height to the shot. We're stopping it more with height than spin. You'll see a lot of tour players when they're in this position, rather than having their normal grip, they weaken their right hand grip. They turn their right hand more to the left. This allows for the motion where the face can be rolled a bit more, and we get a bit more wrist hinge and more loft on the club. So they're trying to basically get some loft on the club and then keep that amount of loft on the club. So I want the face open and I want the head a bit more up in the air like this, and then keep the head like that way. Club's falling down to the ground, but I got loft on the club face. That's how I'm getting the ball in the air. With good rhythm from that setup, it should look something like this.
Watch Jack Nicklaus play golf. Everybody always used to talk about how he flew the right arm, and everybody always looks at that as an anomaly, as something you wouldn't want to do. And there's so much teaching in golf where guys try to keep their right arm in, and I always say no. I mean, my argument is, look, Jack had the club up like this, like he was throwing a football.
Yeah.
And so when you transition, you shallow out the arm, you know, obviously.
Yeah,
and the same thing was true in golf, or I think it should be taught, is that, you know, guys who get their right arm a little higher up, like they're throwing a football, when they transition, it shallows out, versus the guys who have their arm here, it's stuck here. Now when they shallow out, it's got nowhere to go, and they get too far inside. So when I watched Tiger Woods in 2000 have his arm up here.
Yep.
All of a sudden he's got his arm in here, and I think, well, now then when he transitions, he's got nowhere to go. So I don't know why people don't teach the same things that quarterbacks use to, you know, to get all that leverage, because the motion's the same.
Yeah, I would say for me, I would have no basis to say anything about Tiger's swing, because anytime he wants to call and let me know how to swing, I'll take the advice.
Yeah. But 2000 was fun to watch. In 2000.
Oh yeah, and I've always loved watching, you know, Tiger. He's, you know, just when you, like you said earlier, watching him on a range.
Oh.
You just love his tempo, his ability to hit a golf ball. And
watching him at the 2000 U.S. Open on the range turn around, I knew I was witnessing something that was, if not perfect, damn close to.
You're watching School of Golf, Extended Library. I'm Martin Hall. The book this week, The Physics of Golf by Theodore Jurgensen. A very interesting man with some very interesting things to say about the golf swing. Some very good drills about how to get more oompah on the ball. 4 of them for you, 4 influential drills. He is absolutely adamant, without a doubt, that it's the big muscles of the body that give the energy to the small muscles. Maybe not great for accuracy, but certainly great if you want power. A very simple drill you could do at home. Take a softball, take a baseball, hold it in your left hand if you are a right-handed golfer. Practice going up to the top, shift and pull with the left side of the body, not the left arm, and then just throw that ball somewhere. That's a terrific drill to get the sense of how the left side of the body pulls the club down. Now, the second part of his thesis is this: there is a pull and there is a push. There is a pull as you start down, where you pull on the left side of the body, but somewhere down here there's a push. This is a wonderful drill here. Take your club to the top, put your right hand on the shaft as I'm showing you here. So I'm in a position to actually push that club. The key here is to push it at the right time, in fact. So it's up to the top, pull down from, I'll say, 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then start to push. So the feeling is you pull with the body, then you push. You pull, and then you push. And if you can pull, then push, you can certainly get some thrash on that ball. I love this drill that he has. This will be difficult for you to see in the studio because of the brightness of the lights, but Jurgensen recommends getting a piece of black carpet or black tape, putting a piece of white tape over the driver. Under normal lighting conditions, if you take a practice swing, that white line will leave like a little after image, and it lets you see where the path of your swing is. Is it out to in? Is it in to out? Probably for distance, it would be best if it's ever so slightly in to out. Really worth doing. The final thing that Theodore Jurgensen gave us, which helps us analyze ball flight, is what he called the D-plane. I'll keep this really simple. The D-plane really means the ball starts much closer to where the club face is pointing than it does to the path of the swing. So that's Theodore Jurgensen's D-plane. 4 drills, 4 nuggets there to help you hit it longer and straighter, as a matter of fact. Wonderful book. Thanks for joining us on golfchannel.com for the best in golf instruction. I'm Martin Hall. You've been watching an extended version of Martin's Library. For more tips like these, tune into School of Golf Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Martin Hall. You're watching School of Golf Extended Library. The book, Hit It Hard by Mike Dunaway. Now, Mike Dunaway was the protege of Mike Austin. Mike Austin holds the record to this very day of driving a ball in competition 515 yards in distance. Actually, well into his 70s, he used to drive it well over 300 yards. An amazing man, and really this is sort of the Mike Austin manual of how to hit it far. Some very interesting points in here that I think are worthy of comment. Mike Austin, through Mike Dunaway, talks about you hit through your hands, not with your hands. I like that. You know, you have flexible wrists, you hit through your hands. You don't just whack with the hands, hit through your hands. Your hands hold the club, the energy gets transferred through your body out to your hand, you hit through your hands. In detail here, at start down, Mike Dunaway, Mike Austin talk about how to, from the top of the swing, drive the right hip downward and outwards towards the ball. When they first talked about this some 20 years ago, a lot of people poo-hooed it. They were trying to keep the right hip high. Not so. We can measure all this stuff now. Technology has helped us so very much. Yes, the right hip should drive down and out, and if you do, you'll get more speed. At address, a third point here, at address, bend at the ball and socket joint of your hips, so you get some pressure in your hips at address, not in the knees. You want to have the hips active. You've got to coil into and uncoil with the hips, and you know, uncoiling the hips and driving that right hip down. That's what actually clears the left hip out of the way. The last thing that I think is really interesting that Mike Austin talks about is he calls it supple quickness. Supple quickness. You need the wrist to work in a way that the supple quickness, not muscular tension. We're not smashing rocks with a sledgehammer here, golfers. You want supple quickness in those wrists. If you can find a copy, it would be hard to believe you wouldn't add yardage by reading this book. It is so worth it. I'm Martin Hall. You're watching School of Golf Extended Library. My book today, How I Play Golf by Tiger Woods, the one and only Tiger Woods. I've had the good chance to be around him just a little bit lately, and some of the things he said Well, of course, they're very interesting. He said he learned to play the game from the green back to the tee. He said, actually, he hates working on his long game. That's exactly what he said. He said, they're like vegetables. You have to eat them, but they're not much fun. For him, the dessert is working on his chipping and his putting, and he said he would work on that all day. Lesson for all of us there. Start with the shorter shots, move to the intermediate ones, eventually go to the longer ones. Grip pressure with putting. Tiger said he had a lesson in probably the late 1990s, or a conversation with Ben Crenshaw while at the Masters. And Crenshaw persuaded him to hold the putter lightly. And in doing that, he felt he could feel the head of the putter swing a lot more, holding the putter lightly. Now, he also said when I was talking with him, that's not true with the full swing. He wanted to hold the club a bit firmer. Advice from Byron Nelson on that one. So putting light, longer swing a bit tight. Now, he mentions that with all of his shots, he tries to have just one grip. Tiger's actually an interlocker, great for accuracy, but he just has one grip. He doesn't change it for the woods or change it for the irons. And then finally, and I think this is so important for all golfers, like so many great players, Tiger makes the point, you have to keep your grip pressure constant through the entirety of the motion. It's no good starting light and getting tight. It's no good starting tight and then getting light. It must stay constant for your swing to repeat. Great points from the great Tiger Woods. Thanks for joining us on golfchannel.com for the best in golf instruction. I'm Martin Hall. You've been watching an extended version of Martin's Library. For more tips like these, tune into School of Golf Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern.
You're pushing some drives slightly to the right off the fairway off your tee shots. The reason is that your path is swinging just a little too much from the inside and swinging slightly to the right. They feel solid because the club face is square to that path. The problem is your path is just off a little bit. So we need to do everything we can to bring in this forward part of the arc. So at address, we need to make sure the ball is forward in your stance, but the hands are right in the middle part of your body. The other thing we see causing it is the excessive kind of hip thrusting or shoulders tilting back. That drops the club too much from the inside, and that also can cause that slight push. So in your driver swing, I want you to feel a little more level in your turn as you rotate through the ball. Get that club head swinging back out in front of you under the handle, and then let's let this thing travel around over to the left and get you turning and balance out your path. If you work on those things, you're going to hit the ball solidly, eliminate the slight push, and get those drives down the center of the fairway.
Drill. Probably one of my best for doing this is take a lofted club. I've taken my 56 degree wedge. Go to a strong impact, meaning the hands are way ahead. The hips are open, the hands are way ahead, the weight's forward. Now with no backswing, just see can you push the ball forward and finish with the club head lower than your hands. Not as easy as it looks. Let's see you try that.
I feel like I might be getting set up here, Martin.
No, I'm not trying to set you up. I'm sort of preparing you and the viewers at home, but I know this. If you do this drill a lot through the winter, you play better. So I'm here and I'm making
sure the club head stays
forward. Yeah, take your setup.
Okay.
I want you to put your weight forwards. I want you to unwind your hips. Unwind your hips.
So I'm already here.
Hands way forwards.
Oh.
Now I want no backswing, and I want you to just push that ball forward to here. Now you flicked your wrists a little bit.
Yeah.
Stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there.
Oh, I see. So
that would be better.
All right, let's try it
again. That's why it's such a good drill. Now you need someone perhaps watching you, or you need to pay close attention on your own.
Okay.
But hands forwards.
There.
Hips open. Turn your hips more. Push it forwards. Way better.
Way better.
Now in time you can get where you'll hit the ball.
show, and it's time to get into some fitting here, and we're going to talk about the big stick, the driver. I know I got your attention now, and we just saw it there. Jimmy Walker, 42-inch driver. Brooke Henderson up around 46 inches. I know you're very passionate about the length of the driver. What should our viewers consider?
Travis, you know, we just saw two of the best players in the world, and you know, compare that to the average 20 handicap that you and I will see on a daily basis. Walking into a store, buying a driver today, that standard, you know, might be in the 45 to 46 inch range. And here we're seeing Jimmy with a 42-inch long driver, talking about how much more consistent he hits the golf ball in the face and how many more drives he hits in play as a result of going to that shorter length.
So the longer driver, what you've seen with the mid-handicap and even the single digit, is that the ball would roam on the face a little bit. They would lose some distance. Shorter drivers catch it more solid.
Absolutely. Think about it like pounding nails with a hammer. The longer you go with the hammer, at some point there's diminishing return. You get so far away from the nail that you just can't hit it solid anymore.
Right, right. Now, I was hitting some shots earlier in the break, and I'm about half exhausted here, and we were having some fun, and we're going to pull up those shots here. Now, my driver, go ahead and take a look at this here, Anna. My driver was 44.5. I actually just shortened mine 1 inch for control. And take us through what just happened here with my 4 shots.
So Travis was hitting a few balls with his driver, and the first 2 shots kind of went high and a little right. And as everybody does, including the best players in the world, we all make compensations. So you see a couple of shots go dead right, you pull the third one in the orange line dead left, and then I had you choke down on the driver a good half an inch, half an inch to an inch. And the last shot that he hit went dead straight, middle of the fairway, center cut on a rope. And that just illustrates exactly my point. The shorter driver is easier to hit in the center of the face, and it's easier to hit in play consistently.
So the learning curve here, a longer driver, more club head speed, ball can roam on the face, ball speed goes down. Shorter driver, maybe not quite as much club head speed, but more center contact, ball speed goes up. Is that accurate?
Exactly right. You hit it more solid, ball speed numbers will increase.
So our viewers at home, they got a long driver. Say they went out, they purchased a 45-inch driver, right? And they're hitting maybe their buddy's 44 or 43 better. Do you recommend that they grip down, or should they just go and get a whole new shaft at that length?
Well, do an experiment at first. Go ahead and choke down on your driver and see what happens. Just hit a couple of shots with it and see what it's like before you stick it in the saw and chop it off.
I got to try it again. I got to try this again here. So
you got it.
I'm going 44.5-inch driver. I'm going to grip down about an inch. And what I've noticed is you were coaching me up here. When I grip down, I have to get in closer, and my tendency is I get too far from it. And as a teacher, I see that a lot with longer drivers. They'll get too far from it, and the tendency is the ball will roam on the face. So I'm gripping down. I'm down here at 42 like Jimmy. Give it a go here. And that'll play right there, right?
Down the right edge.
Didn't catch it all. Let's try that one more time. So someone comes in, they've got, at your academy, you've got a lot of different lengths drivers for them to try, is that?
Yeah, and in fact, I've actually screwed, in some of these adjustable drivers, I've screwed 3 wood shafts into the driver head and saw better results with several students at 43.5 inches. So, yeah, with the adjustable drivers, it's easy. It's easy to make those experiments.
What kind of advice would you give our viewers when they go do a driver fitting? What are maybe 2 questions that you would recommend that they ask?
Number 1, how much distance can I honestly, truly expect from a driver fit properly? And number 2, what's more important? Is it really the distance, or is it how accurately you hit it on a consistent basis? I really think those are the 2 most important questions when it comes to the longest club in the bag.
Right, good stuff. Really appreciate it.
Travis, my pleasure.
All right, we're going to do more later on as well that you'll be able to see in upcoming shows, but great stuff. The driver's so important. You've got to get the right length.
If you feel like you're striking the ball pretty well, but you're seeing a loss of distance, here's 2 things that we see commonly happen that'll cause that. The first is all the tension in through your arms and all the way down into your hands where we're strangling this golf club. Our grip pressure just gets too tight. Any pitcher that takes a baseball and squeezes it tighter is automatically going to lose velocity and throw a changeup. Sometimes that's how they would actually do it. Use some waggles before you actually hit it to make sure that our grip pressure is light enough. The other thing is we'll see players hang back a little bit with their weight, adding some loft. You can still get a decent strike, but add more loft, and now you just turned a 7-iron into an 8-iron. We're going to make sure that we correct this by getting to a really strong finish all the way up onto our right toe. So remember, a couple good waggles before you hit, and a really good finish onto that right toe to make sure our weight gets all the way through it. Do those two things. Watch your grip pressure, get to that strong finish, and I guarantee you'll see your distance come back.
Khi mới tập chơi là do quá lo lắng tới kết quả, đánh những cú mạnh và xa. Trong đó, nếu bạn có thể tập luyện các kỹ thuật ngay từ đầu và ở một mức độ nào đó, quên đi quả bóng. Trong phần phân tích cuối cùng, ta sẽ biết những gì xảy ra trong toàn bộ một cú swing. Nhưng vào lúc đầu, khi bạn làm quen dần để cởi bỏ áp lực căng thẳng thì đây sẽ là bài tập hay. Bạn có thể vo một tờ giấy lại, rất dễ khi làm ở nhà. Vậy hãy lấy một quả bóng và hãy xem chúng ta có thể thực hiện được cú đánh dựa trên sự tập luyện tốt hay không. Cảm giác như nhau là ý kiến hay nếu giữa các lần đánh bóng bạn hãy thực tập vung gậy. Hãy đảm bảo làm như vậy, không nên cứ đánh hết quả bóng này đến quả bóng khác. Quan trọng là phải có được cảm giác. Nào ta sẽ thực hành vung gậy. Bây giờ ta sẽ đánh bóng. Hôm nay bạn đã học một hơi dài và quả bóng này sẽ bay lên. Tiếp theo là một lần swing khác. Hãy lấy một vật gì đó để swing tới. Cũng có thể là một bông hoa. Làm như vậy để giúp bạn có cảm giác đang swing hướng tới điểm sẽ đặt bóng. Điều này rất quan trọng. Hãy swing xuyên suốt qua quả bóng, chứ không phải chỉ nhắm tới điểm đặt nó. Nếu bạn đánh xuyên qua nó, chứ không cố tấn công nó, bạn sẽ có được cú đánh thành công. Bây giờ bạn đã sẵn sàng cho lần thử cuối cùng để đánh một quả bóng. Hãy tự tin để đánh quả bóng bay lên. Cuối cùng bạn sẽ làm được như vậy. Hãy đặt quả bóng ở vị trí thích hợp với gậy sắt số 7 và vị trí của hai chân. Hãy chú ý chân, không được để hai chân rộng hơn vai. Ta sẽ bàn về vấn đề này một chút. Về cơ bản, với hầu hết các loại gậy, bạn có thể đánh bóng ra khỏi điểm xuất phát một cách dễ dàng. Chân tôi hơi xoay xuống. Làm như vậy để cơ thể hơi thấp xuống so với quả bóng. Bạn không được lùi lại hay nhô lên quá xa. Hãy giữ ở vị trí trung tâm. Một việc cần làm để tạo thói quen đúng là hãy đánh tới một điểm đích nhất định, ít ra là theo sự hình dung của bạn. Hãy hình dung một chấm nhỏ, bám sát nó và để nó tiến lại gần trái bóng. Tương tự, hãy hình dung điểm đến của quả bóng. Dù ngoại cảnh có như thế nào, thì cũng hãy cố mường tượng như vậy một cách rõ ràng trong đầu bạn. Đó là thủ thuật tốt cho người chơi. Hãy vào vị trí, thả lỏng người và swing. Khi tập luyện, nếu chưa hài lòng với cú đánh, bạn có thể tập lại. Nhưng trên sân golf, bạn sẽ chỉ có một cơ hội. Vì vậy, bạn phải luyện tập thành công ngay ở đây. Bạn có thể thấy tôi ở trạng thái thăng bằng hoàn toàn. Và bạn cần học và làm được điều này. Hãy ra đó và giữ ở tư thế như vậy cho đến khi kết thúc. Tôi đã thực hành nhiều năm. Tôi tin rằng bạn có thể đạt được trạng thái này, nhưng phải mất một thời gian. Bài tập này sẽ giúp bạn, vì vậy hãy tập luyện. Bây giờ tôi sẽ giới thiệu với các bạn một số loại gậy. Hãy nhớ chỉ cần một cách vung gậy. Bạn không cần phải vung gậy theo một cách khác đối với mỗi loại gậy. Không cần phải swing theo 14 kiểu khác nhau. Số gậy tối đa mà bạn có thể mang trong túi có thể khác chút ít, song hãy cố thực hành những bài tập này. Tôi đã chứng kiến nhiều người tiến bộ rất nhanh nếu để họ luyện tập đều đặn. Học từng bước một và bạn sẽ thấy kết quả thật tuyệt vời. Bây giờ hãy nói đến những cây gậy. Tôi hy vọng các bạn hiểu được và thực hành thường xuyên. Bạn sẽ dần đạt được phong độ ổn định. Bạn đã thực hành với gậy sắt số 9 và số 7. Bây giờ tôi sẽ giới thiệu một số gậy dài hơn. Điều quan trọng là phải nhận ra rằng chỉ cần một kiểu swing cho các loại gậy. Bây giờ so sánh gậy số 7 với loại dài hơn ở đây, số 4. Bạn có thể thấy nó ngắn hơn. Và chắc chắn gậy số 9 còn ngắn hơn nữa. Như vậy gậy số 4 khó đánh hơn. Hầu hết người chơi có xu hướng múc bóng lên, bởi vì sợ rằng mặt gậy này rất thẳng. Khi bạn định múc lên không trung, mọi rắc rối sẽ xảy ra. Điều tôi cố gắng làm là thực hiện cú swing như nhau với cả gậy số 7 và số 4. Chỉ cần hiểu hơi khác một chút, hiểu được vị trí đặt bóng, và thực sự nhấn mạnh đến một số điểm trong cú swing mà tôi sẽ chỉ cho các bạn. Tôi còn nói về cách sử dụng gậy gỗ. Gậy gỗ số 5 mà với hầu hết người chơi sẽ là loại gậy thực sự tốt. Và cả về gậy driver nữa. Bởi vì mọi người đều muốn đánh bóng đi xa, nên tôi sẽ hướng dẫn cho các bạn các gậy này với cùng một kiểu swing. Bây giờ điều then chốt cần nhớ khi sử dụng gậy sắt số 4 hay dài hơn. Gậy sắt số 3 có lẽ là loại có góc nghiêng thấp nhất mà bạn có thể sử dụng. Tôi không giới thiệu loại gậy số 2 và số 1 vì nó rất khó sử dụng. Nếu bạn còn nhớ, giai đoạn bắt đầu swing có ý nghĩa then chốt. Hầu hết người chơi mắc lỗi trong 90 cm đầu tiên. Để khắc phục điều này, hãy đưa gậy ra sau, nâng nó lên. Vấn đề là phải bắt đầu mọi cử động trong sự phối hợp đồng điệu. Cánh tay, bàn tay và gậy, như khi tôi giữ một quả bóng giữa hai khuỷu tay. Bắt đầu lại với sự phối hợp đồng điệu. Cử động đó rất quan trọng. Nếu làm được, điều đó sẽ giúp bạn thực hiện cú vung rộng. Điều này rất quan trọng khi bạn dùng gậy dài. Điểm cần chú ý khác là phải đảm bảo khi bạn swing ra sau, cổ tay phải được uốn hết cỡ, sao cho ngón tay cái chỉ ra ngoài. Bạn phải đảm bảo cổ tay được uốn hết cỡ. Vào lúc gậy di chuyển ra sau được nửa chừng, gậy phải chỉ về hướng mà bạn có thể tiếp tục vung ra sau, vào vị trí kết thúc ở phía trên. Ngón cái cần ở dưới thân gậy khi cổ tay được uốn hết cỡ, sao cho để khi bạn nhìn xuống thì cây gậy có vẻ song song với đường mục tiêu. Không nên để nó ra phía này hay phía này. Như thế sẽ hơi ngắn hơn. Song vấn đề là bạn sẽ muốn cảm nhận thấy cổ tay được uốn hết cỡ. Đây là tư thế đầy uy lực. Hãy nhớ cổ tay hoạt động như một bản lề. Ta có thể học cách cử động bản lề này một cách chính xác. Bạn sẽ tăng được nhiều tốc độ khi mặt gậy tiếp xúc với bóng. Vậy là chúng ta đã tới bước này, ở tư thế cổ tay được uốn hết cỡ. Và một điều quan trọng khác mà bạn phải nhớ khi bạn dùng gậy dài hơn, đó là swing một cách uyển chuyển. Bạn không được để nó lắc nhẹ từ bên trên. Bạn cần hoàn thành cú swing ra sau và bắt đầu một cách uyển chuyển. Nếu bạn định đánh bóng từ trên đỉnh của đường vung gậy xuống bóng, tai nạn sẽ xảy ra. Đó là khi bạn sẽ đánh bóng slice, có lẽ bạn đã không chuyển hết trọng lượng cơ thể. Những gì chúng ta cần làm là swing hết cỡ ra sau và lên trên. Bắt đầu vung xuống một cách uyển chuyển và quất nó khi tiếp xúc bóng. Như thế khi bạn thư giãn được rồi, không quá căng và cứng tay. Tập trung vào mục tiêu như ta đã bàn trước đó. Bây giờ hãy thực hành nhiều lần với loại gậy dài. Cần chú ý là bạn phải hoàn thành cú swing ra tận phía sau. Đó là điều then chốt khi bạn dùng gậy dài hơn. Khả năng linh hoạt quanh green. Bí quyết để có được các cú đánh ngắn tốt là tính linh hoạt. Đó là khả năng thực hiện các cú đánh khác nhau tùy thuộc vào tình thế. Hãy xem những tay chơi hàng đầu, họ thực hiện tốt các cú đánh ngắn chính là nhờ tính linh hoạt. Ta có tình huống ở đây. Phía trên vài mét là green, qua một hố cát. Có một cột cờ ở vị trí chéo gần, một cột cờ ở giữa bãi cỏ ngắn và một cột cờ ở phía sau. Ba lá cờ này đòi hỏi ba cách đánh khác nhau để đưa bóng tới gần. Với lá cờ ở giữa, có lẽ ta sẽ đánh bóng lên cao để nó lăn một đoạn tới lỗ. Với lỗ ở gần, ta sẽ đánh bóng cao hơn và dừng nhanh hơn. Với cột ở phía xa, tôi sẽ để bóng lăn dài hơn. Tôi sẽ cho các bạn thấy, chỉ với những điều chỉnh nhỏ, bạn có thể sử dụng một cây gậy để thực hiện 3 cú đánh này. Tôi sử dụng gậy đánh trên cát. Trước tiên, tôi muốn đánh bóng tới cột cờ ở giữa để thực hiện cú đánh theo tiêu chuẩn. Tôi đứng ở tư thế sao cho trọng lượng hơi dồn lên phía trái. Bóng ở giữa đường xuất phát, có lẽ hơi lùi lại. Tôi cố giữ ngực ở phía trên thẳng xuống bóng. Điều này rất quan trọng cho cú đánh sắp tới. Hãy giữ tư thế như vậy để xem ta thực hiện cú đánh như thế nào.
For this particular shot, get your chest opposite the ball. Now let's see what type of shot we hit.
Ta thấy đường bóng khá cao, rồi bóng lăn một đoạn. Bây giờ đến lá cờ gần rìa hố cát. Tôi để bóng hơi cao lên so với đường xuất phát, để ngực ở vị trí phía sau bóng. Tư thế này giúp tôi đánh bóng cao hơn một chút. Vậy là tư thế chân hơi mở và ngực ở phía sau bóng. Trọng lượng hơi dồn lên phía phải. Bóng bay lên rồi dừng lại khá nhanh. Với lá cờ ở phía sau, tôi muốn bóng lăn một đoạn dài hơn. Tôi đặt bóng lùi lại điểm xuất phát, giữ cho ngực ở vị trí tiến lên trước bóng, và chân đứng hơi vuông góc, chứ không mở như hai cú đánh trước. Vậy hãy nhớ, ngực ở phía trên, hai tay tiến lên. Như vậy tôi có thể thực hiện cú đánh kiểu thấp. Hãy xem tôi làm. Ta thấy bóng lăn dài hơn. Tôi cố gắng hình dung cú đánh trong đầu trước khi thực hiện. Nên khi muốn đánh bóng cao, tôi hình dung cơ thể nghiêng ra sau. Còn với cú đánh bóng dài, thì hình dung cơ thể nghiêng tiến lên. Như vậy để thay đổi vị trí của ngực. Và bạn sẽ ngạc nhiên khi thấy các cú đánh thay đổi như thế nào. Và bạn sẽ có được tính linh hoạt trong các cú đánh ngắn. Giữ được tư thế thích hợp. Một trong những bí quyết mà tôi rút ra được từ những tay golf hàng đầu là tư thế khi đánh bóng. Tư thế của bạn sẽ quyết định đến cú vung gậy. Tới một mức độ đáng kể, đánh golf là trò chơi của hình học. Điều chỉnh cơ thể vào một góc thích hợp, rồi cố gắng duy trì tư thế đó. Tôi thấy nhiều người ở vào tư thế rất xấu, không thể thực hiện tốt cú đánh. Chân quá thẳng, tay hơi vươn ra, hay ngồi lại như thế này, không thể đánh tốt được. Vì vậy, việc giữ thăng bằng thích hợp trong tư thế chuẩn bị đánh bóng, để bạn có thể vung gậy ra sau và ra trước là rất quan trọng. Ta sẽ xem thế nào là tư thế đúng. Hai tay cầm gậy như thế này, đặt nó ngang qua hai đùi. Hai bàn chân dạng ra ngang vai hoặc rộng hơn chút ít, rồi đặt gậy lên đùi, hơi ấn xuống, rồi chuyển sang tư thế ngồi xổm. Hãy làm từ từ để tránh bị đau. Giữ ở tư thế này, sao cho cảm thấy phần dưới lưng thẳng. Giữ góc giữa đùi và phần trên cơ thể như thế này. Rồi nhổm dậy từ từ, nâng cằm lên, giữ cho phần trên nâng lên đều, cảm thấy áp lực ấn lên đùi. Cần cảm giác trọng lượng dồn lên xương chân, không dồn nhiều lên ngón chân hay gót chân. Bạn cần cảm giác được áp lực đè lên đùi, phần lưng dưới hơi căng, trong khi đưa tay ra trước. Giữ cho cánh tay thư giãn, giữ cho cơ thể trong tư thế điền kinh này. Đầu gối hơi trùng, góc nghiêng từ hông, lưng dưới thẳng. Cằm nâng lên, cánh tay thư giãn. Bắt đầu tư thế như thế này. Hãy thực hành đều đặn. Cảm nhận được áp lực đè lên đùi và lưng căng. Điều này sẽ giúp bạn rất nhiều. Các tay golf chuyên nghiệp cũng sẽ công nhận điều này. Hãy đứng ở tư thế đúng và cú đánh của bạn sẽ tiến bộ. Vung gậy từ đỉnh. Chắc các bạn đã nghe đến thuật ngữ đánh bóng từ đỉnh. Thực tế là nhiều tay golf không nắm vững cách vung gậy hoàn chỉnh, vung ra sau hay ra trước phối hợp. Ta thấy nhiều người quất gậy từ đỉnh của đường vung gậy xuống bóng như thế này, thường khiến bóng xoáy. Họ không thực sự giải phóng gậy từ trên đỉnh xuống, dẫn đến tư thế họ phải giải phóng gậy trước khi chạm bóng. Do vậy, đầu gậy tiến lên trước đà vung tay, nên cú đánh rất yếu. Do đó, đánh bóng từ trên đỉnh là một kiểu đánh xấu. Bạn có thể sửa chữa lỗi này dễ dàng bằng cách khi đã vung gậy ra sau lên đến đỉnh, hãy thẳng tay ra khi bạn đổi hướng. Vung tay phải thẳng ra sẽ giúp bàn tay nắm chắc vào cán gậy khi bạn tới gần điểm tác động. Nếu bạn tới vị trí này, như bạn thấy nhiều tay golf hàng đầu có vẻ tiến tới vị trí này, nhưng sau đó họ giải phóng gậy. Nếu bạn chỉ kéo gậy xuống tới vị trí này, bạn sẽ quất từ trên đỉnh. Nên hãy nhớ, học cách vung gậy từ trên đỉnh, chứ không quất từ trên đỉnh. Vung thẳng tay phải ra, và khi gậy đi xuống, bạn sẽ thấy đầu gậy theo kịp đà vung tay, và bạn sẽ trông giống với tư thế của các tay golf thành thạo. Cách đánh này giúp bạn tăng tốc tối đa, xuyên suốt tới điểm tác động. Một bài tập mà tôi muốn mọi người thực hiện, nhất là những người hay đánh bóng slice, đó là đặt bóng vào vị trí hơi cao, rồi cầm gậy sắt số 7 hoặc 8. Đánh một vài cú sao cho có cảm giác vung tay phải thẳng ra. Liên tục làm như vậy, đó là một cách tuyệt vời để thay đổi hướng. Hãy xem tôi làm. Lúc đầu có vẻ hơi khó, nhưng đây thực sự là bài tập giúp bạn vung gậy từ trên đỉnh. Nên khi có một quả bóng ở đây, và bạn vung gậy bằng hai tay, bạn sẽ có cảm giác tương tự. Nào, hãy thử vung gậy từ trên đỉnh. Tay phải vung thẳng ra. Tôi chắc bạn sẽ thích cảm giác này. Chinh phục các sườn dốc. Chắc hẳn là bạn ít khi tập các cú đánh trên sườn dốc. Khi tập, bạn thường dùng gậy sắt số 5 mặt phẳng, và ta dễ dàng đạt được nhịp điệu cho một cú đánh tốt. Nhưng khi trên sân golf, các sườn dốc thường khác hẳn. Có hai trường hợp bóng nằm trên sườn dốc, đánh lên và đánh xuống. Trước tiên trên sườn dốc, tôi cầm thêm một gậy bởi vì bóng sẽ bay cao hơn. Thông thường tôi đánh gậy sắt số 8, bây giờ tôi dùng gậy sắt số 7. Bí quyết ở đây là giữ tư thế song song với sườn dốc. Nên tôi đặt chân rộng hơn để tăng độ thăng bằng, rồi để bóng tiến lên so với điểm xuất phát. Luôn giữ cho bóng tiến lên ở phần cao của sườn dốc. Như vậy, giúp ta đạt tư thế song song với đường dốc. Bí quyết ở đây là cảm giác vung gậy ra sau rồi ra trước, và giữ hai chân thăng bằng. Điều đó rất quan trọng. Đây là cú đánh cao để bóng không lăn dài tới green và giữ thăng bằng. Bạn có thể thấy vung gậy đúng cách và giữ tư thế thăng bằng, thì bóng sẽ dừng lại nhanh chóng khi tới green. Bây giờ hãy sang sườn dốc xuống. Tôi sẽ dùng gậy sắt số 9 thay cho gậy số 8. Nếu bóng ở mặt phẳng thì có thể dùng gậy sắt số 8, nhưng ở đây cần dùng gậy có độ võng lớn hơn. Thực tế ở đây là gậy sắt số 9 sẽ đánh bóng thấp hơn để bóng bay xa hơn. Ta lại đứng song song với sườn dốc để bóng lùi lại vạch xuất phát. Cũng theo quy tắc, giữ cho bóng ở phần cao phía trên. Với tư thế song song, tôi có cảm giác vung gậy ra sau nhiều hơn để tránh sườn dốc, rồi vung gậy ra trước, xuôi xuống sườn dốc. Chú ý đứng dạng chân rộng để giữ thăng bằng. Hãy nhớ điều chỉnh tư thế cho song song với sườn dốc. Bóng nằm trên phần cao của sườn dốc. Hãy làm như vậy và bạn sẽ chinh phục được các sườn dốc.